Here are the complete, validated chapters. Grace Miller, have you ever had a cup of coffee worth $50? No. Have you ever eaten lobster thermidor? No. How about P5 Wagyu beef? Still no. Congratulations, today you get to try them all. Ethan, what are you doing? Ordering, of course. What does it look like? Ethan Ford scanned the menu, ignoring the descriptions and focusing solely on the price column. He picked the most expensive items available. Alaskan king crab, Wagyu ribeye, truffle risotto. He checked them all off. Ethan was in a frenzy of selection. This high-end bistro in the Grand Monarch Hotel certainly lived up to its reputation, at least when it came to the prices. After ticking off most of the big-ticket items, Ethan turned to Grace. Grace, what did you pick? Pancakes and a fruit cup. My favorites. Grace smiled. Hey, skip that stuff. Get the lobster and the steak, Ethan said, stopping her hand. Didn't you already order that? Grace asked, confused. Silly girl, whatever we can't finish, we'll pack up. Lunch is sorted for the whole day, Ethan said with a straight face. Pack it up? Grace looked at him in disbelief. Ethan Ford, you really have achieved a state of shamelessness that I can only admire. I'm humble, but nice move. I like it. Ethan chuckled mischievously. Thank you for the compliment, Miss Miller. Don't just stand there. Order quickly before he comes back. Okay, no problem. Grace flashed an okay sign and started checking off items wildly. After they finished, they handed the order slip to the waitress. Ethan said, bring everything on this list. Sir, can the three of you finish all this? The waitress asked, staring at the densely packed slip in shock. Don't worry, we'll box up whatever's left. We absolutely won't waste food. Ethan smiled. Okay, I'll put the order in. Please wait a moment. The waitress turned and left. Ethan poured a glass of water and grinned. Grace, I guarantee after this, he'll never dare to invite you to a meal again. In the restroom, Dean Bowden splashed water on his face, took a deep breath, and whispered to his reflection in the mirror, Calm down, Dean. Calm down. Now is the time to show your strength. It's just 3 pots of $50 coffee. I can afford it. I absolutely cannot lose face in front of Grace Miller. Show your generous side. Let her see the gap between a boy and a man. Come on, Dean. Dean clenched his fist, pumping himself up. But when he turned around, he found 3 men standing behind him, staring at him with weird expressions. They looked at him like he was an idiot. Go ahead. Dean wiped his face, smiling awkwardly. After he left, the 3 men exchanged puzzled glances. Is that guy nuts? Dean returned from the restroom to his seat, seeing Ethan and Grace already sipping the expensive Reserve Blue Mountain coffee. Have you guys ordered breakfast? I found that the bagels here are actually quite good. I recommend you try them. Dean forced a smile. He recommended the bagels, not because they were good, but because they were cheap and filling, hoping they wouldn't order too much else. Bagels, waitress, add a basket of bagels to this table. Ethan raised his hand and shouted. Certainly, sir. I'll add it, the waitress responded. Ethan immediately turned to Dean. Hey, Dean, you haven't ordered for yourself yet. We've both ordered. We're just waiting on you. I don't eat much in the morning. Waitress, just give me the #1 combo, Dean called out. The waitress heard this and looked confused. They ordered so much already, and he's ordering more? Whatever, as long as they pay, they can order whatever they want. All right, the waitress went to add the order. Dean took a sip of the coffee, feeling like he just swallowed $10 in one gulp. This coffee doesn't taste that special. Why does it hurt my heart to drink it? He looked up at the beautiful Grace and asked with a smile, So Grace, how did you two meet? What attracted you to your boyfriend? He wanted to dig out Grace's preferences in a partner, find out Ethan's traits, and then outdo him to win her heart. Dean felt excited by his own cleverness. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Grace paused, not sure how to make something up on the spot. Ethan immediately cut in. It's a long story. He suddenly grabbed Grace's hand and looked at her affectionately. Grace was startled by his move. Stinky Ethan, what are you doing? It was a dark and stormy night. We were on a cruise ship crossing the Atlantic. Ethan said with deep emotion. Grace? Dean? Atlantic? Cruise ship? What the hell is this? Dean listened to Ethan's nonsense with a bewildered expression. Later, she jumped, so I jumped after her. Even in death, we wanted to be together. Ethan finished, feeling a bit thirsty, and drank some coffee. Later, we were rescued by kind people, and then we got together. We swore an oath that we would never be separated in this life. Right, honey? Ethan looked at her lovingly. Grace, right. She was a bit dazed, but had to play along. Stinky Ethan, you can really spin a yarn. Dean looked skeptical. After listening, he felt the story sounded familiar, but he couldn't place it immediately. Anyway, it sounded ridiculous. Are you trying to fool an idiot? Only an idiot would believe that ghost story. Excuse me, sir. That experience you just shared was so moving. It brought me to tears. Your love is so pure, so great, so tragic. I'm a writer, and I've decided to record your story. It will surely touch thousands of readers. Here's my card. A chubby man stood up from the next table excitedly and handed Ethan a business card. Dean? No way. Someone actually believes this crap? Catch you later. Bro, where do you publish your books? Ethan asked casually. On the forums. That's where the readers with the highest taste are. Handsome men and beautiful women. It's a temple for an author's dreams. Those readers are so generous. They often donate, encourage me, and send me gifts. Although the gifts are a bit repetitive. Mostly razor blades. I have a warehouse full of them at home, the chubby man lamented. Ethan, okay, bro, I got it. Next time I'll come support you. But right now I have a date, Ethan smiled. Good, remember to find me. I'll be waiting. The chubby man winked at Ethan and turned to leave. Ethan shivered. Dean narrowed his eyes at Ethan and suddenly said, Mr. Ford, forgive me for being blunt, but I get the feeling. You two aren't actually dating, are you? He sensed it. Ethan was spouting nonsense, while Grace looked completely confused. If they had such an unforgettable love story, why would she have that expression? So, Dean concluded that Grace and Ethan weren't a couple. Grace likely hired him to put on an act to fend him off. Yes, that had to be it. How could that be? Dean, that's definitely your illusion. We are an incredibly loving couple. Right, honey? Ethan held her hand, lifted it up, and said solemnly. Grace had black lines dropping down her forehead. Isn't this all your fault for talking nonsense? Now look, we're being suspected. But she was riding a tiger and couldn't get off, so she had to mimic Ethan and gaze back affectionately. Yes, honey, we'll be together forever. Saying this, Grace's cheeks flushed, and she got goosebumps all over. Dean watched them. Although he didn't quite believe it, they were holding hands really tightly. My goddess is holding hands with someone else. It hurts. It really hurts. He was about to voice his suspicion again when the waitress pushed a cart over. The cart was piled high with plates and various dishes. Sir, miss, your order's ready. Let me serve you, the waitress smiled. Great, thanks. Dean, let's eat first. After all that talking, I'm starving, Ethan said. Okay. Dean nodded, glancing at the food on the cart. So much food. That must be for other tables too. But the next scene left him completely dumbfounded. The waitress moved with incredible speed, placing plate after plate onto their table. In no time, half the cart was empty. Oh wait, no, hold on. Did you bring the wrong order? I didn't order this lobster thermidor or the A5 Wagyu. I only asked for the #1 combo. Dean shouted anxiously. The waitress looked at him in confusion. This gentleman and lady ordered these. Right, I ordered them. Dean, I've never eaten lobster or Wagyu before, so I wanted to try them. Is that okay? Grace widened her watery big eyes, revealing a pitiful expression. Dean's heart melted instantly. Cough, it's fine. I was just asking. Since you want to eat it, then eat. It doesn't matter. This little bit of money is nothing. I think a man should have some financial stability. Mr. Ford, this is your failing. As her boyfriend, you've never treated Grace to lobster and Wagyu. His words immediately drew a comparison between himself and Ethan. I have money. Maybe not a fortune, but enough for a superior lifestyle. No problem at all. But Ethan is poor. A man with his conditions can't give a woman security. Grace, get angry. Give Ethan a look of disgust. Hee. Ethan nodded and smiled. You're right. That's why today I told her to let loose, order whatever she wants, eat whatever she wants. Grace linked her arm through Ethan's and said sweetly, Oh, honey, you're the best. Boom. Dean was instantly petrified. What the hell? Please, I'm the one paying for this meal. Okay. What does it have to do with Ethan? Grace, I'm the one treating you. It's me. Come on, Dean, don't just stare. Eat up. Eat whatever you want. Don't be polite. Ethan picked up a piece of lobster meat and tossed it into his mouth. Delicious. Dean, A degree. You're spending my money. Why the hell would I be polite? Wait, I should be the one saying that line. Damn it. Dean looked depressed and resentfully grabbed a bagel, taking big, angry bites. He saw one piece of Wagyu beef left on a plate, just as he was about to move his fork, extending it to the edge of the plate. Suddenly, a pair of chopsticks snatched the last piece of Wagyu away with lightning speed. Hey, Dean, did you want that? How about I give it to you? Ethan asked with a serious face. Dean put down his fork, covered his face, and said with a trembling voice, You eat it. Hey, Dean, what's wrong? Are your eyes bothering you? Yeah, I think I got some sand in them just now. He pressed a hand to his chest. It hurts. It really hurts. Oh, my mistake, my mistake. Here, I'll use tea instead of wine to toast Dean. Honey, how can you speak to Dean like that? Dean is so generous, so open-minded, and so wealthy. Would he care about these little things? Saying that just insults Dean, doesn't it? Right, Dean? Grace unleashed a flurry of flattery. Dean's face looked extremely ugly. Seeing the slightly admiring look in Grace's eyes, he forced out a smile. All right, just a few small things. Small change. No problem, no problem. He said the words, but his heart was bleeding. No, it was spurting blood. He pressed a hand to his chest. It hurts. It really hurts. Dean is generous, classy, and has a big perspective. I can't compare. Here, I toast to you. Ethan raised his cup solemnly. Oh, my mistake, my mistake. Here, I'll use tea instead of wine to toast Dean. Dean twitched his lips, raised his cup in response, and downed it. Bitter tea down the throat. The table was too small to hold everything from both carts, so the waiter left one cart beside them. It still had half a load of dishes on it. Dean glanced at it, his heart aching more and more. How much is this going to cost? But since things had come to this, he had to toughen up and play the wealthy gentleman. Come on, Grace, eat more. You look a bit thin. Dean greeted her. His mouth was sweet, finding ways to call Grace thin. Girls love being told they were thin. It was a compliment. Yeah. Honey, look, Dean says you're thin too. Come on, let me feed you a shrimp dumpling. Ethan picked up a shrimp dumpling with his chopsticks and brought it to Grace's mouth. Grace opened her mouth cooperatively and ate it, smiling sweetly. It's really delicious, thanks, honey. Moi, Grace blew him an air kiss. Moi, Ethan returned one. The two were sugary sweet, spreading dog food everywhere. Dean watched, his face growing uglier by the second, as if large knives were hacking at his chest. Detestable. Spending my money and force-feeding me public displays of affection? Is there no justice? No justice, damn it. You guys are bullying me too much. Dean wanted to cry, but had no tears. He could only turn his grief and indignation into appetite, furiously gnawing on his bagel. He saw one piece of Wagyu beef left on a plate, just as he was about to move his fork, extending it to the edge of the plate. Suddenly, a pair of chopsticks snatched the last piece of Wagyu away with lightning speed. Hey, Dean, did you want that? How about I give it to you? Ethan asked with a serious face. Dean put down his fork, covered his face, and said with a trembling voice, You eat it. Hey, Dean, what's wrong? Are your eyes bothering you? Yeah, I think I got some sand in them just now. Oh my, I didn't expect such a nice environment to be dusty. Dean, why don't you go to the restroom and wash your eyes? Ethan pretended to care. No need, no need. It'll be fine in a moment. Dean rubbed his eyes, wiping away the bitter tears in the process. Hey, Dean, why are your eyes red? Stayed up too late. Then why is your face green? Bad stomach. Ah, then why is your face red now? Spicy food. Then you. Enough. Can you stop asking? Dean roared, unable to bear it any longer. I was just saying your tea spilled. Dean felt a warmth below and realized his tea had been knocked over, soaking his pants. He hurriedly pulled out napkins to wipe it, wanting nothing more than to bang his head against the wall and die. What a rotten luck day. Grace watched from the side, trying hard not to laugh. Stinky Ethan is so bad, but I like it. Ha! Half an hour later, Ethan and Grace were both stuffed, leaning back in their chairs, patting their round bellies. I'm full. Waitress, check please. Ethan shouted generously, as if he were the one treating. The waitress came over with the bill and asked Ethan, Sir, are you paying? Ethan smiled. Beautiful. Open your eyes a bit wider. Mr. Bowden is here. What I need to pay. Isn't that a slap in Dean's face? Someone as handsome, talented, and obviously wealthy as Dean. How could it be my turn to pay? Right, Grace? Grace nodded and continued the praise. Yes, thank you so much, Dean, for treating us to this meal today. Dean pulled out his wallet, squeezed out an ugly smile, and laughed dryly. Yes, I'm treating. Waitress, how much is it? He opened his wallet, preparing to count bills. Hello, sir. Your total comes to $4.52. I'll round it down for you. Just $4.50. The waitress said enthusiastically. What? $450. Dean's hand holding the wallet trembled. A brunch cost this much money. It hurts. Yes, sir. You ordered 5 servings of lobster dishes. The market price for lobster has been a bit high recently. The waitress handed over the bill. 5 servings? We clearly only ate 3. Dean asked in astonishment. Ethan waved his hand and smiled. Oh, Dean, I forgot to tell you. I ordered 2 extra portions. I didn't expect them to actually serve them, but it doesn't matter. We strictly believe in not wasting food. Waitress, pack up all these leftovers, plus those 2 extra lobster dishes to go. Dean nearly spat blood upon hearing this. Holy crap. This guy is shameless. Not only did he eat a ton, he's taking takeout. You take it away, what am I supposed to eat for lunch? Dean wouldn't mind, right? Or, do you want to pack some up too? Grace asked, blinking her big, watery eyes. Dean heard this and swallowed his words. No need. I generally don't do takeout. You guys take it, Dean laughed dryly. But inside, he was in agony. See, honey? I knew Dean didn't look like the type to use doggy bags. We'll do the labor for him. Ethan laughed. The waitress asked Dean, Sir, cash or card? Card. Card. Dean gritted his teeth. This breakfast ate up more than a month of his salary. It hurt like hell. Soon, Dean settled the bill, and Ethan and Grace finished packing up. Ethan stood there holding large bags in both hands. Most of it was food they had ordered but hadn't touched. He'd take it back to the office. It would be perfect for Tank and Henry to try. Thanks for the treat, Dean. Let's do this again sometime when you're free. Ethan grinned. Dean, next time? There will be no next time in this lifetime. Dean's face turned purple with rage. He gave a dry laugh, turned his head, and walked away. Ethan dropped Grace off at her company. Dean had already gone upstairs ahead of them. Stinky Ethan, you really are something. You almost killed him with anger. Grace clutched her stomach, laughing until it hurt. If that old boy dares to harass you again, I'll show him even more powerful tactics. Ethan smiled smugly. All right. Thank you for today. Since you performed well, I'll give you a reward another day. Grace patted his shoulder. Reward? What reward? A kiss. Ethan puckered his lips. Grace. Stinky Ethan, do you want to taste what it's like to fly? Ethan chuckled. Grace Miller, you wouldn't do something ungrateful, would you? To others, no. To you, yes, Grace said without hesitation. Ethan. Grace burst out laughing. Look at your face. All right, stop messing around. I'm going to work. You go back. All right, Miss Miller, don't forget my reward. Ethan responded. Watching Grace go upstairs, Ethan went back to retrieve his bicycle, hung the bags of food on the handlebars, and headed straight for the company. The company was located in the Zenith Tower, Suite 702. He entered the office carrying 2 large bags, and the employees looked over curiously. Good morning, Mr. Ford. Morning, boss. There were over 50 employees in the company. It seemed like a lot, but once the maintenance technical training was complete, they would be assigned to the stores. Good morning. Keep working. Ethan nodded. Ethan went over to Wayne, Tank, Turner, and Henry Payne's workstations. They sat right next to each other. He placed the takeout on the desk, leaving Tank dumbfounded. Holy crap, Ford. Why did you pack so much food? Tank asked in surprise. Hey, put this away. Extra meal for you guys today? Ethan smiled. Thanks, Ford. Tank licked his lips. It smelled delicious, just sitting there. Tank happily hauled the food away. Ethan turned to Henry Payne and asked, Henry, how did it go? Did we secure the leases for the 3 cyber cafes? Henry replied, Ford, we got them. Here are the rental proposals and prices. He handed Ethan a file containing the rental schemes and prices. These 3 commercial spots were chosen personally by Ethan. They were located next to 3 universities because the main demographic for cyber cafes right now was young people. The place with the most young people was universities. The annual rent for these 3 locations was negotiated down to $6,000 a year each. The area was about 3,000 square feet for each. One of the spots was right next to the Illinois Institute of Technology. It was on the 2nd floor of a mall, occupying 3,000 square feet. This was the one Ethan intended to build as a flagship store. When finished, each cyber cafe could accommodate 200 computers. The more machines, the more money they made. Of course, this was a huge expense. Between renovations and buying the computers, Ethan estimated he needed $450,000 or even more. However, Ethan didn't plan to use his own money for this. He should use the bank's money to make money. Affected by the recent economic downturn, the state had pumped a lot of liquidity into the market to stimulate the economy and issued many policies to support financing for small and medium-sized enterprises. Many banks were seeking clients for loans. Commercial loan rates were generally around 6%, similar to current mortgage rates. That interest rate was negligible compared to the massive profits of the cyber cafe industry. The profitability of cyber cafes right now was beyond everyone's imagination. Want to get rich? Open a net cafe. This slogan was louder then. Want to get rich? Build a road first. In the golden decade of cyber cafes, basically anyone who opened one could make a fortune. Millionaires were made left and right. As the saying goes, even a pig can fly if it's in the wind. Ethan clearly remembered a relative back home who invested $70,000 in 2001 to open a cyber cafe in town with 50 computers. The average daily income was around $400. He made his money back in just 6 months. Later, he expanded and opened branches, making money hand over fist. One year at Christmas, the first time Ethan ever received a $100 bill in a card, it came from him. So, Ethan was very determined about opening cyber cafes. No matter how hard it was, he had to get it done. This super wind tunnel, this money printing machine, absolutely could not be missed. The rent price is fine. Henry, follow up on this and get them all signed. Call me if anything comes up, Ethan said, turning to Henry Payne. No problem, Ford. Henry nodded firmly. Ethan smiled. Keep up the good work. Henry was meticulous and reliable. Although he wasn't great at socializing, he had a drive when it came to work. He wouldn't stop until the goal was achieved. I will. Henry smiled. After arranging Henry's work, Ethan went to the 361 software tech department. Leo, how is the server expansion for the 361 manager prepared? Ethan asked a young man wearing thick glasses. Leo Zhang was a fresh graduate Ethan had recruited through Professor Hall. He was a typical tech geek, obsessed with technology. He had won multiple awards in college and had very solid technical skills. He was also the talent Ethan intended to groom into a technical lead. Leo was coding. Hearing Ethan's voice, he paused, then replied stiffly, Mr. Ford, I'm currently expanding it. This is the 3rd batch. Not bad, good efficiency. Just follow the technical plan I laid out. Go for it. Once you finish the expansion, 361 manager can scale up. Ethan smiled. Yes, Mr. Ford. I'll work hard. Leo scratched his head and said awkwardly. I just saw in the chat group that intern Irwin had a technical question he didn't understand. Didn't you reply to him? Ethan asked with a smile. Huh, really? I was coding just now. I might not have noticed. I'll reply to him right now. Leo thought he had done something wrong and panic opened the chat group. No need. I answered him. I was just asking. Ethan laughed, patting his shoulder to soothe his nerves. Yes, Mr. Ford. I'm really sorry. Leo lowered his head like a child who made a mistake. It's fine. Just remember, we are a team. Sometimes, besides your own work, giving some help to your teammates is appropriate. That way, your expansion speed will be faster. After all, one person's strength is limited, but a team's strength is infinite. No matter how strong one person is, their efficiency can't compare to a team. Ethan instructed patiently. Yes, Mr. Ford, I understand. Leo nodded heavily. Keep it up. I believe in you. Ethan patted his shoulder, offering encouragement. Leo had good technical skills, but he was still young and not used to leading a team. Currently, the 361 technical team was effectively managed by Ethan. But Ethan wasn't in a rush. Talent had to be cultivated slowly. The first requirement for a tech lead was solid skills. The second was team management ability. Clearly, Leo still lacked a lot of management experience, but given time, he would definitely grow. Now, with this 10-person technical team, the work on the 361 side gave Ethan a huge breather. He no longer had to stay up all night working and could free up time for other things. Once the server expansion was complete, 361 Manager would take off rapidly, growing even faster than the Messenger apps. By then, this project would bring a large amount of cash revenue to West Ford Technology. Get back to work. Ethan patted his shoulder and smiled. Leo chuckled awkwardly and resumed coding. Ethan returned to his private office. Just as he turned on his computer, Tank knocked and entered. Ford, bad news. Something happened. Tank rushed over to Ethan. Ethan frowned. He had never seen Tank this nervous. He quickly asked, Tank, what's wrong? What happened? At the store. Trouble at the store. Bridges called me. She said a group of customers came to cause a scene, demanding refunds. And they want triple refund compensation. There's a lot of people there. Tank wiped sweat from his forehead, speaking nervously. What? Returns. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. His first instinct was that something was wrong. But there was no time to think too much. He immediately stood up. Let's go to the store. Ethan took Tank out of the company, hailed a cab, and headed straight for the computer store. Soon, they arrived at the storefront. Sure enough, they saw more than 20 people blocking the entrance, shouting, Refund! I want a refund! This store is a ripoff. Exactly. The parts one just bought broke in no time. Scammers. The owner of West Ford is a crook. Disgusting. Refund. And I want triple damages. Or I'll sue you in court. The graphics card I just bought didn't last a month. This place sells defective goods as new. We're a ripoff. Damn it, my motherboard failed too. Hurry up and refund my money. Triple refund. Rights. We want our consumer rights. Crooked merchant, get out here. The noise from the 20-plus people was loud. Neighbors and passers-by gathered around to watch the commotion, whispering among themselves. Ethan's face darkened. This wasn't good. Ford, I'll go talk to them. Tank wanted to take the burden. After all, he was the main manager of the West Ford computer store. If something happened, his first thought was that he had to fix it. Ethan looked at him appreciatively, but held him back. I'll handle this one. You watch and learn. In the future, we'll encounter this and that kind of problem. First, you have to calm yourself down. Don't rush and don't panic. Okay, Ford, I'll listen to you. Tank nodded. Ethan squeezed through the crowd and arrived at the store entrance. I'm the owner of West Ford Computer Store, Ethan Ford. Everyone, please don't be anxious. Calm down first, Ethan shouted to the crowd. Hearing this, the 20-odd people turned around and stared at Ethan. You're the owner? Hurry up and refund the money. I don't want these trash parts anymore, someone shouted excitedly, face full of anger. Right, refund. Triple refund. Triple refund. Others joined in the shouting. The scene instantly turned into chaos. However, at that moment, at the entrance of the alley, the figures of Sal Higgins and Nick Xander appeared in the doorway of cafe. Seeing the chaotic scene at the West Ford computer store, the two looked at each other and smiled. Nick Xander chuckled and gave Sal Higgins a thumbs up. Boss Higgins, nice move. If he doesn't handle this well, closing down is just a matter of time. Sal Higgins took a sip of coffee, sneered, and said disdainfully, That kid Ethan wants to play with me? He's still too green. Facing the surging crowd, Ethan Ford remained expressionless, simply watching them calmly, employing the cold treatment first. He had experienced brand crises many times in his past life and knew public relations tactics by heart. When facing angry customers, one should let them cool down first to restore reason. When a person is angry, it is hard for them to listen to others. When a group is angry, it's even worse. So, they must be calmed down first. The best way is not to speak, but to look at them with sincere eyes. Sure enough, under Ethan's calm gaze, the 20-odd people slowly quieted down and stopped shouting. Boss, what's with the attitude? Say something, shouted a young man in a green shirt. Ethan then bowed slightly and said calmly, I am deeply disturbed by everyone's issues. I can understand your anger, but please calm down a little. Let's sit down and talk properly. Trust me, I will give everyone a satisfactory result. Hearing Ethan's words, the hostility on their faces faded a bit. They came to solve a problem, not to be unreasonable. You sold us faulty parts. You must give a triple refund. A buzzcut youth clamored. Ethan didn't argue with him. The first thing to do was to understand the problem and the specific situation before responding. Everyone, don't rush. Please come inside and rest. It's hot out. Have some water first, and we can talk slowly. If there are problems with the parts, I need to know which parts and what problems occurred. After checking and confirming, we can discuss the solution. I can promise you now, if the parts are indeed defective, I guarantee an immediate triple refund on the spot. Ethan said seriously. The customers looked at each other. Most of them listened to Ethan, especially when he mentioned the on-the-spot triple refund. This made them feel Ethan's sincerity in solving the problem. All right, let's go inside and talk. The green-shirt youth nodded. The group walked into the store. Ethan asked Britt Stone to hang up the close sign, then had Tank and Tiff Stone pour water for everyone. There weren't enough seats in the store, so Ethan stood just like them. Please state the model of your problematic part first. I'll have my colleague record it. Customers who brought the parts and receipts, please provide them so we can see which batch has issues, Ethan said calmly. Mine is the Sterling 694X motherboard. Mine is the Quantum 30 GB hard drive. And mine is the MGA 220. Customers stepped forward one by one to state their faulty parts, and Tank recorded them. 8 customers handed over their receipts and parts, and Tank registered them as well. Ethan looked at the batch numbers on the receipts, and his brow furrowed. They were all products from Sterling Tech, and they were all from that batch of special offer parts. Ethan cursed inwardly. Damn it, I've been set up. Fuck, Nick Xander, that old scumbag, dared to scam me. Those 2 batches of special offer products were likely rejects, also known as A-stock or seconds. These were defective goods that appeared during manufacturing and entered the market through special channels. Sterling Tech must have acquired a lot of these rejects. Damn, luckily I was cautious and only ordered 2 batches. In his mind, Ethan greeted the female ancestors of Nick Xander's family for 18 generations. Scam me? Watch me destroy you. If I don't destroy you, I'll write my name backward. Ethan took a deep breath to calm himself slightly. The urgent task now was to handle this incident first. Crisis PR must be done well. Otherwise, if word spread in the Oak Creek Tech Circle, Westford Electronics brand would be blackened. After all customers were registered, Ethan checked some of the parts. They indeed had flaws and defects. Next, it was time to talk about compensation. Ethan addressed the crowd. I have a basic understanding of the situation. I've checked the parts, and indeed, the products we sold have problems. This is a fact. As the owner of Westford Electronics, I will absolutely not shirk my responsibility. Although Westford Electronics was established recently, we are a responsible company that dares to take ownership. We have always operated with a philosophy of customer first. This incident is our responsibility for failing to inspect our stock properly. Therefore, on behalf of Westford Electronics, I promise to give everyone a triple refund. Ethan's speech was impassioned and righteous. After listening, the customers' expressions softened, and they nodded repeatedly, accepting Ethan's resolution. Tank, take out the cash in the store. Immediately compensate these 8 customers who brought their products with a triple refund. For the remaining customers, you can go back and retrieve your parts first. As long as they belong to these 2 batches, we will unconditionally provide a triple refund, paid on the spot. Ethan said seriously. Hearing this, the customers all showed looks of surprise. This boss was straightforward and didn't dodge responsibility at all. Class act. The green-shirt youth applauded and shouted, "Good. The boss is straightforward. It seems Westford Electronics is trustworthy after all. I bought defective parts before, and other bosses just made excuses. Forget triple refund. They didn't even want to refund at all. Westford Electronics has the best attitude and is the most straightforward I've ever seen." Other customers nodded one after another. Based on this attitude alone, compared to other stores, they were leagues better. These were computer parts worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Getting money back was usually extremely difficult. If you really wanted to sue the store, it would take a lot of energy and money. Not worth it. So many people usually just swallowed their anger when they bought lemons. But this time, for the first time, they encountered a merchant so straightforward who agreed to triple refund without hesitation. Truly conscientious. Ethan smiled slightly and said, "Thank you for the compliment. This is our responsibility, and it's what we should do." Tank took out all the cash in the store and refunded the 8 customers on the spot, plus 3 times the compensation, including the green-shirt youth just now, who received the triple compensation, his face beaming with joy. The boss's guts. I believe if Westford Electronics maintains this business attitude, you will definitely make it big, the green-shirt youth said seriously. The other customers who hadn't brought their parts looked envious and admired Ethan even more. This boss had guts. Ethan smiled. Protecting customer rights is something every conscientious merchant should do. This matter has caused trouble for you all, which is truly our failing. To express our apologies, I have decided to give everyone present a brand new replacement part for free. The customers were shocked upon hearing this. What? Free? A new part given to us? Oh my God, boss, you really are something. What generosity! Westford Electronics is very trustworthy. With an attitude like this, I'll buy all my parts from Westford Electronics in the future. Everyone was pleasantly surprised and exclaimed in admiration. Now, their perception of Westford Electronics had completely changed, becoming extremely positive. They might even become loyal customers of Westford Electronics. Seeing this, Ethan smiled inwardly. The crisis PR was a success. Hey. Only with everyone's supervision and encouragement can we do better. The development of Westford Electronics cannot happen without the trust and support of our customers. On behalf of Westford Electronics, I express my heartfelt thanks to you all. Ethan bowed and shouted, "Clap, clap, clap." The 20-plus people on the scene gave Ethan a round of warm applause. This boss is a good guy. I will definitely support Westford Electronics more in the future. Yes, absolutely support. Ethan smiled. Since everyone supports us so much, I must show my appreciation. For the new parts given to everyone present, we will extend the warranty by 1 year for free. Hearing this, everyone was even more surprised, and another round of warm applause erupted. Next, Ethan distributed new parts to them one by one. Before they left, he also gave them a small gift, some headphones, mice, and similar items. The 20-odd customers had arrived in a fury, but left beaming with joy. Before leaving, they even chatted warmly with Ethan at the door for a while. Inside the store, Tank and the Stone sisters watched this scene with bewildered expressions. "My God, the boss's PR skills are too awesome," Tiff Stone exclaimed. "Of course, that's Ford," Tank said admiringly. To turn people who were originally going to smash the shop into loyal customers. Such PR skills were indeed impressive. Tank silently memorized Ethan's techniques and methods, thinking he must study them well later. After sending these people away, Ethan returned to the store, his face darkening. Seeing Ethan's expression, Tank, the Stone sisters, and the other employees were too scared to speak. The boss was terrifying when he was angry. Ethan turned to Tank and ordered, "Tank, immediately call the customers who bought those 2 batches of Sterling parts. Call them one by one to notify them. Tell them to keep the original parts and wait for our recall. Then we will personally deliver new, better parts to their door to replace the defective ones. Do it as soon as possible. Do it today, even if it takes all night. Tiff and Britt, you sisters coordinate. Others help deliver the parts." Tank knew the severity of it. Just agreeing to compensate those 20-plus people, plus sending out new parts, Westford Electronics had lost over $10,000. If the triple refunds continued later, it would be a huge sum. "Yes, Ford, I know. I'll do it right away." Tank nodded solemnly. "By the way, Ford, what about Sterling Tech? How do we deal with them? We were definitely scammed by them." Tank said indignantly. Ethan snorted coldly. "Of course we will hold them accountable. They will compensate us 10 times, 100 times our losses." Tank thought for a moment and said, "What if they don't admit they sold those 2 batches to us? What do we do then? All we have are the invoices stamped with their seal. Those 2 batches didn't have a separate contract. We only have a cooperation agreement with them. It seems even if we sue in court, there will be a lot of arguing back and forth, and it's very likely we'll lose due to insufficient evidence." Ethan said calmly, "Sue in court? In this era, wanting to achieve fairness and justice through the courts is very difficult. Taking legal action is not my choice. A gentleman waits 10 years for revenge, but I'm a petty man. I take revenge immediately. Tank, I have plenty of ways to bring down Sterling Tech. Playing tricks on me? They're looking for death." Tank saw a powerful confidence in Ethan's eyes, a confidence derived from his own strength. He believed unequivocally and firmly that Ford was the most awesome. Since following Ethan, he had witnessed Ethan's ability and mind. He had come to a conclusion. Apart from the campus beauty grace, no one could take advantage of Ford. "Tank, you guys get to work first. The recall matters can't be delayed," Ethan instructed. "Okay, Ford, I'm on it." Tank nodded, turned, and ran to the counter to start looking up customer information and making calls one by one. Ethan walked outside and squatted by the roadside to smoke, calculating his plan to destroy Sterling Tech. This matter definitely had something to do with Sal Higgins. He had no conflict of interest with Nick Xander. That guy wouldn't screw him over for no reason. The only person who could make him do this was that old scumbag Sal Higgins. He had old grudges and direct conflicts of interest with Sal. Since opening the computer store, Sal's previous customers had actively run over here, effectively stealing a lot of Sal's resources. With Sal's petty, vengeful character, how could he let it go? So he absolutely couldn't get away with this. Ethan blew a smoke ring, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "Fuck, since you want to play, I'll play with you properly." Ethan pondered. The most important point to bring down a company is to cut off their financial path. As the saying goes, cutting off a man's wealth is like killing his parents. Destroying Sterling Tech's profitable business would be enough to severely injure them. But that was far from enough. Just cutting off their profitable business didn't satisfy Ethan. He wanted to bankrupt them. Otherwise, his hatred wouldn't be resolved. The best way to bankrupt them was to make them breach a contract and pay sky-high damages. Thinking of this, Ethan suddenly narrowed his eyes. A plan had already formed in his mind. "Nick Xander, Sterling Tech, since you dared to scam me, just wait for death. As for Sal Higgins, there are even more ways to deal with him." Meanwhile, at the Gallant Spa Center, Sal Higgins and Nick Xander were enjoying a massage in a private room. Boss Higgins, that kid Ethan must be overwhelmed right now. Nick lay on the bed, looking comfortable as a heavily made-up masseuse worked diligently on him. More than overwhelmed. Once the matter truly ferments, Westford Electronics will be reported to the Business Bureau and condemned by the whole internet. By then, his store should be closed down. Sal laughed smugly. "Exactly. Boss Higgins has great methods." Nick flattered him. Sal turned to look at him and smiled. "That's also thanks to your help. Without you, it wouldn't have worked. I've had someone wire $3,000 to your account. Check it when you have time. By the way, don't rush back later. There are other services upstairs." Hearing this, Nick's face lit up with joy. "Oh, thank you so much, Boss Higgins." Evening, the sun was setting. Ethan packed the last graphics card, attached an apology letter, and let the employee take it away to deliver to the customer. "Tank, this is definitely the last one, right?" Ethan turned to ask Tank. "Yes, Ford, the last one. All customers on the list have been contacted and confirmed one by one. Tank replied seriously. Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, the impact of this matter had been minimized. If not handled in advance, it would be even harder to deal with once these customers' parts broke and they came back. All right, everyone worked hard today. Ethan smiled at the employees. Ethan's smile instantly relaxed the atmosphere in the store. Britt Stone said admiringly, "Boss, it's really all thanks to you today. If not for you, we wouldn't have known what to do." When encountering problems, calm down first. Don't panic, don't be nervous. If you can't solve it yourself, you can contact colleagues or report to me. There will always be a solution. After all, the team and the company are your shield. Ethan smiled. Yes, I understand. Britt nodded heavily. By the way, Tiff, have all the parts for mailing today been sent via post? Ethan turned to ask Tiff Stone. Boss, all sent. A total of 34 parts, shipped according to the orders on the website, Tiff replied. 34? Not bad. It seems online sales are picking up, Ethan said with satisfaction. Although this number was insignificant compared to the thousands or tens of thousands in the future, in today's resource-scarce internet era, having such online sales data was already very good. These were online customers converted from marketing activities. Once the 361 manager server expanded and user growth picked up, it would inevitably drive online sales further. Ethan checked the time. It was almost time for Grace to get off work. Tank, I'm heading out. You guys wrap things up, clean, and then clock out, Ethan said to Tank. Sure, take care, Ford, Tank responded. Ethan returned to the company, rode his bicycle, and went to pick up Grace. Grace stood downstairs at her company, watching her colleagues leave for home one by one. She stretched her neck, looking toward the intersection, trying to find Ethan's figure in the crowd. Stinky Ethan, what's going on? Why isn't he here yet? Grace pouted, muttering to herself. Grace, shall I drive you home? Dean took out his car keys and shook them, showing off that he had a car. Having a car now was considered a sign of a wealthy family. A car was a symbol of financial power. No thanks, Dean. I'm waiting for my boyfriend. He'll be here to pick me up soon. Grace refused directly. Oh, okay then. Dean twitched his mouth. Every time he thought of Ethan's annoying smiling face, he wished he could punch him. He ate over $400 of my breakfast. I'll remember that for a lifetime. Honey, I'm here. Suddenly, Ethan's voice came from afar. Grace heard the sound, turned to look, and saw Ethan pedaling his bicycle hard, speeding over. In no time, he was in front of her. Stinky, honey, you're here. Working all day, and then coming to pick me up. You've worked hard. Grace almost blurted out Stinky Ethan, but quickly switched to a coquettish, cute mode. Hee had a lot of things to do, got delayed a bit. You waited a long time, right? Come on, let's go home. Ethan chuckled, feeling pretty good hearing Grace call him honey. Oh, Mr. Bowden is here too. Ethan turned and saw Dean. Dean glanced at the bicycle Ethan was riding, and his sense of superiority exploded. I drive 4 wheels. How can your 2 wheels compare to me? Yeah, I was just going to get my car. Dean tilted his head back, flashing his car keys at Ethan. Wow, Mr. Bowden has a sedan. You really are rich. It's a Honda Accord. By the way, I just saw a Honda Accord in the street parking lot with 2 scratches on the body. Is it yours, Dean? Ethan smiled. What? Someone scratched my car. Dean's face changed instantly, and he ran off in a panic. Seeing Dean run far away, Grace asked in surprise, was his car really scratched? Silly girl, I tricked him. Get on. Ethan laughed mischievously. Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Ha ha, look how scared he was. You killed me. Mr. Ford, you really are something. Grace sat sideways on the rear seat, wrapping one arm around Ethan's waist. All right, little Ford, proceed. Yes, Your Highness. Hold tight, I'm launching. Ethan pedaled hard, and the bike shot forward. Grace hurriedly hugged him tightly with both hands. Not far along, Ethan suddenly braked hard. Grace's body slammed into his back. Stinky Ethan, what are you doing? Grace shouted. Lots of people on the road. Told you to hold tight. Ethan laughed. Grace scooted forward a bit, hugging his waist even tighter with both hands. The sudden closeness made her cheeks flush. Stinky Ethan's back is actually quite broad. Sit steady, we're going home. Ethan smiled. On the way, Ethan asked while riding. Grace, how was my acting today? Is it Oscar-worthy? Give me a break. With your terrible acting, no one would want you even as an extra. Grace rolled her eyes in disdain. Hey, Grace, at least I was your boyfriend for a day today. And you're dissing me? Can't you show some appreciation? Didn't you used to diss me all the time? Every few days you'd roast me. Did I? No way. I'll sue you for slander. You're slandering me. If this lady remembers it all. Don't. At worst, I'll let you roast me a few times in the future. No, roast me as many times as you like. Stinky Ethan, why are you talking so weirdly? By the way, where did you learn the meaning of this word roast? Online. Haven't you seen internet slang while surfing the web? I've only seen Indro 0B, L33T, pawn, stuff like that. Ethan listened to these ancient slang terms and smiled inwardly. As the internet popularized, internet culture would become even more widespread. By the way, Grace, if you find that Dean annoying, just give him a back suplex. I guarantee he won't dare to harass you again. You think I don't want to? If not for worrying about my mom, I would have given him a suplex plus a deathlock long ago. So that's how it is. No worries, I can still be your shield and continue being your one-day boyfriend. But you have to renew your subscription. Renew? What renewal? Premium services require renewal. You have to renew monthly. Stinky Ethan, you still want to negotiate terms with me? Believe it or not, I'll give you special training next time. Cough, cough. No need for special training. Forget it. I'll give you special membership, free forever. But you have to answer a membership question to check if your IQ qualifies for permanent membership. What question? You call my dad Mr. Ford. You call the neighbor Mr. King. If you call Mr. Roberts Bob, what do you call Mr. Hubbard? Grace rolled her eyes at him. Hub. Hey, hubby. Grace. Grace's cheeks flushed red, and she pinched the soft flesh at his waist. Stinky Ethan, daring to take advantage of me. Ow. Grace, go easy. You're tearing the meat off. Who told you to be a smart aleck? How can you say I'm a smart aleck? Have you tried? Don't slander me. Try your big head. Try. Grace's face turned even redder. She glared at him in annoyance, but Ethan was riding the bike and couldn't see her cute expression. We can try at home. I don't mind, as long as you have a need. Ethan laughed wickedly. Grace blushed like an apple and pinched him again. Need your head. Ride your bike. Ethan howled from the pinch. This girl really has violence genes in her, but I like it. This Grace is very charming. Returning to the door, Grace opened her house door and found no one inside. My parents aren't home. Grace turned back and asked. Ethan opened his door, glanced inside, and smiled. They're all at my place. Grace ran over, stuck her head in, and sure enough, her parents were at the Fords. Grace, Ethan is back. Mary Ford came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. Hi, Mrs. Ford. Grace greeted obediently. Mary said affectionately, Grace, don't stand at the door, come in. You're eating here today. Okay. Grace walked in and took off her shoulder bag. Mary took her bag and immediately handed it to Ethan. Ethan, go put Grace's bag away. Mom, she has hands and feet. Ethan twitched his mouth. Mary glared at him. I told you to go, so go. Why does this child talk so much trash? Then she turned to Grace and said kindly, Grace, you must be tired after working all day. I made chicken soup. Your favorite coconut chicken. Mrs. Ford is the best. Grace held Mary's arm and smiled obediently. Ethan, Mom, you're too biased. Ignoring Ethan's resentful look, Mary led Grace inside, exchanged a few pleasantries, and then went to the kitchen to cook. Ethan put the bag away and passed by Grace. Grace gave him a smug look. Mr. Ford, don't be depressed. Mrs. Ford has always treated me better. Grace looked triumphant, seeming very pleased to see Ethan eat crow. Grace, look, there seems to be a UFO over there. Ethan pointed out the window. Where? Grace subconsciously turned to look. Ethan secretly reached behind her back and snapped her bra strap. Snap! Elastic. Grace realized she had been tricked. She glared at him with a flushed face. Detestable. Stinky Ethan. She made a move to hit him, but Ethan sprinted to the living room shouting, Hi, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Miller. Seeing Ethan, Lily Miller waved and smiled. Ethan is back. Come, I bought some fruit. Come eat some fruit to whet your appetite. Seeing her parents there, Grace had to stop quickly, her face red from holding back. Stinky Ethan, just you wait. Okay. Ethan responded and sat next to Lily. Grace pouted and sat on Lily's other side. Mom, why are we eating here today? Grace asked suspiciously. Sigh. Wanted to discuss the factory matters with Ethan's dad. Our factory is going to restructure. We might all be unemployed. Lily sighed. Didn't they say results wouldn't be out until October? Grace was stunned. This matter is a long story. It's also because of Pittsburgh Steel. Anyway, the economic situation isn't optimistic. Lily shook her head. She then took 2 apples and gave them to Grace. Grace, peel them with the fruit knife. Have some fruit. Mom, 1 is enough for me. No need for 2, Grace smiled sweetly. Lily rolled her eyes at her. 1 is for Ethan. I'm asking you to peel it for him. Grace. Mom, you're actually ordering me around for Stinky Ethan. Lily turned to Ethan and smiled kindly. Ethan, How is business at the store lately? Is the work hard? Seeing Grace pouting enough to hang an oil bottle while reluctantly peeling the apple, Ethan was overjoyed. Let you be so smug just now. Work has been a bit tough lately, but it's worth it. Business is pretty good, Ethan replied. Hearing this, Lily's eyes were filled with satisfaction as she praised. Good business is good. Ethan, you really have a bright future. You are the top scorer and you know how to do business. With you being so successful, your parents will enjoy life later. In the future, teach Grace a thing or two. This look was a bit like a mother-in-law looking at a son-in-law. Grace noticed her gaze too. Her cheeks flushed, and she quickly said, Mom, I don't need him to teach me. She quickly peeled an extremely ugly apple and handed it to Ethan. Here, mister. 4 for you. Ethan didn't mind, as long as it was edible. Thanks, Your Highness. He took the apple and took big bites, looking smug. Grace gritted her teeth and glared at him, while Ethan looked indifferent, as if saying, what can you do to me? Seeing the two of them fighting like little enemies, growing up playing and fighting, Lily felt a headache. These two kids grew up together. Why are they still like this now that they're older? Can't they be harmonious and loving together? Really, maybe it's really like Grace's dad said. Grace and Ethan are too familiar with each other, so it's unlikely they'll get together. Lily shook her head and took a sip of tea. The kids are grown up. She couldn't control much. Whether there's destiny depends on fate. Dinner is ready. Grace, son, go wash your hands and get ready to eat. Mary Ford brought out the dishes and shouted with a smile. Okay, I'll go first. Ethan immediately got up and ran to the bathroom. Me too. Grace followed closely behind. At the bathroom door, just as Ethan was about to close it, he said, Grace, you have to respect first come, first served. Washing hands. What's with the order? Are you washing or not? If not, move. Grace squeezed in. Hey, Grace, I need to use the toilet. Don't come in. I'm taking off my pants. Ethan shouted hurriedly. Grace glanced at him and hummed arrogantly. Take them off then. It's not like I haven't seen it. Ethan. Grace Miller, if you put it that way, then I'm really taking them off. Ethan pretended to undo his pants. Since you don't mind, I don't mind either. Hearing this, Grace didn't expect he would actually dare to do it. Her pretty face turned red. She spat and said, Stinky Ethan, you are shameless. After speaking, Grace retreated and slammed the door shut. Ethan laughed smugly inside. This girl was still thin-skinned sometimes. But when had she seen him take off his pants? Holy crap. Does she still remember that thing from childhood? When they were kids, public toilets weren't so developed. Kids playing downstairs would just find a big tree to water when they needed to pee. Once, Ethan was peeing under a tree when suddenly Grace ran over, tilted her head, and asked in a baby voice, Little Ford, why are you peeing standing up? Ethan sniffled and said, Don't we all pee standing up? No. Hey, what's that thing? You have a worm growing there. Grace picked up 2 twigs like chopsticks and tried to clamp it. At that moment, Lily ran over, stopped her, and scolded her severely, making her cry on the spot. While crying, she shouted, I didn't bully him. I saw a worm growing on Little Ford. I wanted to help him pick it off. This incident later became a topic of conversation after meals for both families, making everyone laugh every time it was mentioned. Grace, on the other hand, would run back to her room in embarrassment and anger every time she heard it. Ethan washed his hands and went out, seeing Grace waiting at the door with arms crossed. Hey, Grace, your turn. Ethan chuckled and wandered away. Grace secretly glared at Ethan's back. Stinky Ethan, don't celebrate too early. During the meal, George Miller and Frank Ford drank a little wine and chatted. Old Ford, if you get laid off, what do you want to do? George asked. I don't have a plan yet. My wife's health hasn't fully recovered. I plan to stay home and accompany her more and plan later. Frank sighed. That's true. Now that Ethan is successful, you don't have to be so anxious. George smiled. Mentioning Ethan, Frank's face showed a few degrees of pride. Ethan was not only the state top scorer, but also knew how to do business. 2 days ago, he gave his mother $10,000 to save. $10,000. His annual salary plus bonuses and benefits was only about $9,000. That was 10 years of his salary. He knew Ethan's business made money, but he didn't expect it to make this much money. With such a son, who could score first in the state and make business boom, was there anything left to be dissatisfied with? Having such a successful son, Frank felt completely satisfied. This life was worth it. Ethan is indeed successful, but I don't ask for him to be rich or noble, just safe and healthy. Frank touched Ethan's head lovingly. Ethan felt warm inside and smiled. Dad, can we be a bit more ambitious? Both wealthy and safe and healthy. You kid quite greedy. Frank laughed loudly. George and Frank chatted about the factory layoffs and Ethan listened from the side. Because the rolling mill wasn't efficient, it was going to be acquired by Pittsburgh Steel later. They proposed a condition. To proceed with the acquisition, personnel must be reduced, estimated at 90% of the staff. These employees would eventually become part of the laid-off wave. Ethan really wanted to help to create some labor-intensive enterprises, meaning opening factories to hire as many people as possible. This would be a way to give back to society. After all, behind every laid-off worker was a family. Without income, how many families would fall into difficulty? Ethan had always followed the philosophy that if poor, attend to one's own virtue. If wealthy, aid the world. After all, this land was his country. But this matter could only be planned later. He had to get Westford Company's 3 main businesses on track before considering opening factories. After dinner, Ethan and Grace washed the dishes and agreed to go to the community store to eat Rocket Pops. The two arrived at Aunt Lana's store. "Aunt Lana, 2 Rocket Pops." Grace shouted toward the shop. "Hey Grace, have you eaten?" Lana Wong asked with a smile, taking 2 Rocket Pops from the freezer. "Yep, but it's too hot. Wanted some popsicles?" Grace smiled sweetly. Lana handed her the popsicles, just in time to see Ethan sitting at the door, looking delighted. "Ethan is here too. Come, and we'll give you some snacks." This child studies so well. Lana took a pack of spicy jerky sticks from the counter and stuffed it into Ethan's hand. "A gift for you to eat." Ethan was a bit flattered. He didn't expect to become a celebrity in the neighborhood. "Thanks, Aunt Lana." Ethan smiled. "Hey, no need to thank me. You brought honor to our neighborhood. Now, the whole community knows a state top score came from here." "Ethan, how did you score so well? Any secrets?" Lana asked curiously. Ethan thought for a moment and said, "Secrets? That relies on memory. All about memory." "Huh, my kid has the worst memory. No wonder he always fails." Lana shook her head. Ethan chuckled. If someone sold a memory training course now, they would probably make a fortune. Back in the day, some people actually opened such courses and made millions a year. But this stuff was somewhat scammy, and Ethan disdained doing such business. "Oh my, I didn't expect Mr. Ford to become a celebrity." Grace giggled, plunking down next to Ethan and handing him a Rocket Pop. "What celebrity? Just a regular person." Ethan smiled. "ZZZT Pop." Suddenly, the streetlights and the store lights all went out. "Oh no, power outage again." Grace looked around and found the lights of the entire neighborhood and the road were all black. At first, there was a bit of commotion, but people seemed used to it. They came out one after another to cool off under the trees. Power outages were a common occurrence for them. Maybe once or twice a month, sometimes once every few months. Random and irregular. But Ethan stared at the darkness before him, stunned. Power outage. These 2 words suddenly sounded a bit unfamiliar. It seemed that after college, he rarely encountered power outages. It seemed like there was electricity anytime, anywhere, taken for granted in this country. But at this moment, Ethan realized this wasn't something to take for granted. It was something the people on this land worked hard to build. "Stinky Ethan, eat quickly. Why are you spacing out? The popsicle will melt." As Grace spoke, she put the popsicle in her mouth, her right hand moving back and forth rapidly. Just like that, the Rocket Pop went in and out of her mouth. "Ethan, get a winky face." "Grace Miller, where did you learn to eat like that?" "TV, what's wrong with it? You're so fussy." Grace spat out the Rocket Pop and replied casually. Ethan twitched his mouth. "You don't learn the good stuff. Why only learn the bad stuff?" "What's bad about it?" I'm uncomfortable bad." Chapter 130. "You? Uncomfortable why?" Grace continued swallowing and spitting the Rocket Pop, asking in confusion. "Cough, nothing." Ethan laughed dryly, tore open the wrapper of his Rocket Pop, and started licking it slowly. Not gonna lie, eating a Rocket Pop on a scorching summer day felt awesome. And no need to worry about ice cream assassins. Popsicles and ice cream in this era were basically cheap. Eating the popsicle, listening to the laughter of the elderly by the roadside and the playful noises of children, it was peaceful and harmonious. Although the power was out, the neighbors could still chat warmly. The smiles on everyone's faces were intimate. There were no people bowing their heads to scroll through phones on the road. It was no longer indifferent. Technology changed life, made life convenient, but also severed the connection between people. Ethan sighed inwardly, suddenly feeling that living in such an era wasn't bad. "Stinky Ethan, the spicy jerky in your hand," Grace suddenly said, her eyes fixed tightly on the jerky, licking her lips. You finished your popsicle so fast." Ethan looked at her in surprise. "Yeah, I crunched it in 3 bites." Grace spread her hands, expressing helplessness. Ethan saw her eyes staring at the jerky and smiled. "What, you want some? If you want some, tell me. If you don't tell me, How would I know you want some? If you want it, just say you want it. Why don't you say it? Grace wanted to reach out and grab it, but Ethan's hand waved back and forth, and he spoke like he was chanting a scripture, almost making her head explode. What does this stinky Ethan want? Stinky Ethan. I want it, okay. Grace gritted her teeth and glared at him. Ethan opened the bag, pinched one stick out, and asked, which one do you want? That one of yours. Grace licked her lips, looking like a greedy cat. Hey, you really know how to pick. You saw mine was longer, right? Here for you. Ethan smiled dotingly. Mr. Ford, you know what's good for you. Grace took the jerky and bit it off in one mouthful. So good. Grace spoke unclearly. Ethan watched her eat, her lips red and tempting. Really want to kiss her. But if I kiss her now, I'd probably be dismembered by Grace, right? And with a mouth full of spicy jerky flavor. Still, the feeling last time was better. Ethan missed the bravery he had at school back then. Mr. Ford, look, are those stars in the sky? Can we still see stars now? Where? Right there. The two sat at the entrance of the convenience store, just like that, eating spicy jerky in the dark, enjoying the cool evening breeze, looking up and counting the stars in the sky. 3 days later, Monday morning, Ethan took Tank and the termination agreement to Sterling Tech. Once again, it was Nick Xander who received the two. Nick walked into the meeting room and laughed loudly. Ha, welcome, welcome. Young Mr. Ford is so busy with business, yet rarely comes over. It's truly an honor. Come, have a smoke first. Nick smiled hypocritically, took out a pack of Camel cigarettes, and pulled out two to hand to Ethan. But Ethan looked indifferent and raised his hand to refuse. Manager Xander, I can't afford to smoke your cigarettes. After speaking, Ethan took out a pack of Parliament cigarettes himself, gave one to Tank, and then lit one for himself. Nick's face was a bit awkward. He offered Camels. Ethan smoked Parliaments. How was that couldn't afford? Clearly, he looked down on him. Seeing Ethan's expression, Nick seemed to guess something, so he stopped pretending. He sneered and lit a cigarette for himself. What business does Boss Ford have at the company today? Nick puffed out a cloud of smoke and said lazily. His tone no longer had the enthusiasm from before. Ethan smoked, narrowed his eyes, and stared at him coldly. Manager Xander, you sent those 2 batches of goods to me on purpose, right? What 2 batches? I don't know what you're talking about. Nick pretended not to understand, playing dumb. Those 2 batches of special offer goods. You fucking sold me defective goods on purpose, right? Ethan didn't have the patience to pretend with him and slammed the table, cursing. Hey, Boss Ford, you can't accuse people out of thin air. I didn't send you any defective goods. What we sell are genuine products. Genuine, understand? Nick sneered. Ethan calmed down. He had expected he wouldn't admit it. Even if he sued, there was a high probability of failure due to insufficient evidence. Besides, waiting for trial, hearings, mediation, it wouldn't be finished for 2 or 3 years. Xander, you scammed me, right? Hanging out with that old scumbag Sal Higgins. Feels good, huh? Ethan blew a smoke ring and said calmly. Nick didn't expect Ethan to name Sal Higgins. A trace of panic flashed in his eyes, but he quickly calmed down. Boss Ford, I don't know what you're talking about. Scam or no scam, I don't know. Nick shook his head, maintaining an attitude of deny everything. What can you do to me? But Ethan had already noticed that slight panic, and he was 80 to 90% sure in his heart. Sure enough, it was that old guy, Sal Higgins, behind the scenes. Tank shouted angrily, fuck, you dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it. Although those 2 batches were genuine, they were factory seconds. Damn it, you caused us a huge loss. You fucking still won't admit it? Tank finally couldn't hold back and turned hostile toward Nick on the spot. Nick glanced at the two with disdain and sneered. Don't slander me. Careful, I don't sue you for defamation. You say I scammed you. Do you have evidence? What batch? That batch. Can you prove they are our goods? Oh, I forgot to tell you. Those 2 batches don't exist here at all. Fuck you. Tank slammed the table and stood up, pointing at his nose and cursing, wishing he could punch that punchable face. Ethan held him back, his face very calm. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. We both know the truth. Our days are still long. We'll take it slow. I can play with you properly. There will be plenty of opportunities. Ethan sneered, turned his head, and took a document out of his satchel. This is a termination notice. From now on, West 4 Electronics and Sterling Tech officially end their cooperation. With that, Ethan stood up, threw the document in his face, knocking the cigarette out of his mouth. Holy crap, you motherfucker. Nick was burned by the cigarette on the corner of his mouth and cursed in pain. Looking up again, Ethan and Tank had already walked out of the meeting room. Walking out of Sterling Tech, Wayne Tank, Turner lowered his voice and asked, Ethan, where to next? Should we find someone to report Sterling Tech to the authorities? No need. We're heading to Southbridge Traders to see Frank Zane, Mr. Zane, Ethan Ford said with a faint smile. Frank Zane? What for? Tank asked, puzzled. Southbridge Traders and Sterling Tech are in the same line of work. They're competitors. I'm sure Frank would be more than happy to see Sterling fold. It would mean one less rival in Tech City, Ethan said with certainty. There were no eternal friends, only eternal interests. When interests aligned and goals matched, people became friends. Ethan needed Southbridge Traders to help pull the rug out from under Sterling Tech. Tank nodded, realization dawning on him. I get it now, Ethan. I'll give Frank a call first to see if he's in. If he is, we'll pick up a gift on the way up. Ethan pulled out his phone and dialed Frank Zane's number. The phone rang twice before it was answered. Hello, is this young Ethan? Ah, yes, Mr. Zane, it's me. Ethan replied with a hearty laugh. Hey, Ethan, calling me up. You got some business to send my way, brother? Oh, Mr. Zane, you're joking. I'm the one who needs you to look out for me. Actually, I didn't have much going on today and thought I'd come by specifically to bum a cup of coffee off you. Sure thing. I'm in the office right now. Come on up, Ethan. I'll have the coffee brewing in the lounge. Great. I'll be there in about half an hour. Ethan hung up and turned to Tank with a grin. Let's go buy something. Meanwhile, in Frank Zane's office, Frank set his phone down and wrapped an arm around Lana Cole, who was perched beside him, his hand wandering. Hey, wait a sec. Lana sat on his lap, pressing down on his mischievous hand. Was that Ethan Ford calling you? Yeah, that was Ethan. Frank stroked her leg, encased in sheer black stockings, and swallowed hard. What did he want? Lana asked. Said he's coming over for coffee. Frank let go of her leg, grabbed a pack of cigarettes from the desk, pulled one out, and lit it. He wouldn't come here for no reason. He definitely wants something. Frank blew a smoke ring toward Lana's face. Through the haze, her delicate features took on a hazy, alluring beauty. Lana fanned away the smoke and whispered, What kind of business could he have? Whatever it is, his business has been booming lately. Just from the parts he orders from us. I estimate he's pulling in over 50 grand a month in pure profit. Frank took a drag and nodded, smiling. Ethan really is a business prodigy. We'll find out what he wants when he gets here. It's actually perfect timing. I can probe him a bit. I'm quite interested in his computer chain store concept. If he partners with me, we could expand the chain across the entire city. With my supply advantages and lower parts costs, we'd be raking in money hand over fist. Frank's eyes gleamed with greed as he spoke. Lana covered her mouth and giggled. Seems like you've really got designs on him. No, I only have designs on you. Frank chuckled, his hand creeping back up her body. Lana's face flushed. She slapped his hand away, acting shy. We're in the office. Don't get crazy. Ethan will be here any minute. Frank finally withdrew his hand, laughing. Business first. I'll take care of you tonight. Lana hopped off his lap, straightened her disheveled clothes, and pouted. Don't you have to go home tonight? It's Monday. Frank slapped his forehead. Almost forgot it's Monday. Gotta go home and spend time with my son. He looked up and saw the disappointment on Lana's face. He comforted her. It's okay. Tomorrow. I can be with you tomorrow. Lana squeezed out a smile and said calmly. So when do you plan to come clean to the one at home? Sigh, let's wait a bit longer. These things take time. Frank stood up and hugged her gently. Lana's heart went cold. It was the same vague excuse, the same non-answer. Always a bit longer, then a bit longer again. She was sick of hearing it. Frank suddenly grabbed her hand and smiled. Lana, just give me a little more time, okay? MH. Lana nodded reluctantly. Satisfied, Frank let go of her hand and adjusted his suit. I'll go to the lounge to brew the coffee. You put together a summary of West Ford Electronics purchase history for me. Okay, Lana replied. She watched Frank leave the office, her expression turning desolate. She picked up a Parliament from the desk, lit herself, and leaned against the window. Smoking, she watched the busy traffic outside, a trace of resentment and sorrow in her eyes. Ethan and Tank arrived at Southbridge Traders carrying a gift box of premium coffee beans. Mr. Ford, Mr. Zane is already waiting for you in the lounge. He said to go straight in, the long-haired receptionist said, standing up to greet them. Great, thanks. Ethan smiled warmly, nodded to her, and walked into the company. At the door of the lounge, Ethan paused and shot Tank a look, signaling him to be sharp. Tank grinned and nodded in understanding. Ethan knocked on the door. Mr. Zane. Haha, Ethan. Come on in. The door opened. It was Lana Cole who opened it. Hey, Mr. Zane. Ms. Cole, good to see you. Ethan beamed, greeting them warmly as he entered and shook hands with both. The three exchanged pleasantries and took their seats. Ethan pulled out a pack of Parliaments and started offering them around. Even Alana. She didn't decline, taking the cigarette, but she lit Frank's for him first. Ethan noted this with a faint smile. Their relationship was clearly more intimate than typical colleagues, even closer than typical lovers. Here, come on, Ethan, have some coffee. Try this reserve Blue Mountain. Frank greeted them enthusiastically, pouring cups for Ethan and Tank. When Mr. Zane heard you were coming, he specifically brought out his private stash of reserve Blue Mountain beans. These are grown at high altitude, very low yield. Sometimes money can't even buy them, Lana added with a smile from the side. Her words were meant to show how much Frank valued Ethan. Wow, that rare. I'll have to savor this then, Ethan said, pretending to be flattered. Tank, remembering the coffee etiquette Ethan had taught him, first inhaled the aroma, then took a sip. Rich aroma, smooth finish. Good coffee, Tank praised. Ethan smiled. The big lug was actually appreciating the coffee. Indeed, very aromatic. Excellent coffee, Ethan chimed in. Frank narrowed his eyes, sipping his coffee calmly. It is indeed my favorite. I'm glad you both like it. He wasn't in a rush to ask why Ethan was here. He trusted Ethan would bring it up himself. After chatting for a while, Ethan's eyes darted around, and he asked casually, by the way, Mr. Zane, you know Sterling Tech downstairs, right? They seem to distribute a pretty wide range of parts. Frank knew this was the opening. Did this have something to do with Sterling? Oh, I know them. Sterling Tech? More like sketchy tech. A lot of the black market goods from the manufacturers flow out through them. Refurbished parts, defects, cheap supply, high margins. Selling them as new gives them at least triple the profit, Frank sneered, clearly disdainful of Sterling. Hearing this attitude, Ethan knew his prediction was correct. As the saying goes, competitors are enemies. One less competitor is always better. Is that so? A real bad apple then. Mr. Zane, to be honest, I intend to take Sterling Tech down, Ethan said with a slight smile, then briefly explained the context of his grievance. After listening, Frank put on a face of righteous indignation. That's outrageous. Cheating my brother like that. Ethan, don't worry, I'm backing you on this. Just tell me what to do. Ethan laughed inwardly. Frank was a sly old fox. He made it sound like he was doing it for Ethan, but it was purely for himself. Without Sterling Tech, Southbridge traders could eat up another chunk of the market. But it didn't matter. Their goals aligned. Ethan thought for a moment and smiled. Mr. Zane, after I disrupt Sterling Tech's current operations, I need you to play along with a little performance to dig a big hole for them. Frank was secretly surprised. Ethan, you could disrupt their current operations? Ethan gave a mysterious smile and nodded, but didn't elaborate on the method. Frank pondered for a moment, tapped the table, and asked, all right then, but what role do you want me to play? Ethan moved to sit next to him, whispered a few words in his ear, then smiled and handed Frank a cigarette. Frank nodded thoughtfully, but the look he gave Ethan now held a hint of wariness. This young man, his mind was dangerously sharp. When the time comes, if Sterling goes down, wouldn't that market share belong to you, Mr. Zane? What do you think, Mr. Zane? Ethan blew a smoke ring, smiling faintly. Frank's face already showed interest. If they followed Ethan's plan, there really was a chance to kill off Sterling Tech. Not bad. Your method is definitely feasible, Ethan. I think it's high time we removed this bad apple. More importantly, they dare to scam you. I'll definitely help you get justice. Frank declared self-righteously. Sigh, I really appreciate you stepping up, Mr. Zane. I'm incredibly grateful, Ethan said, feigning emotion. Not at all, not at all. It's the right thing to do. Mr. Zane, you're a good man. The two exchanged pleasantries. In one small lounge, for people harbored hundreds of hidden agendas. With business concluded, Ethan switched to a lighter topic, chatting about fishing and hobbies. Ethan didn't know much about fishing, but it was the perfect subject to ask Frank about. Mentioning fishing, Frank instantly perked up, his face lighting up as he talked nonstop, clearly delighted. Ethan just played the listener, occasionally throwing in a compliment, which made Frank beam with joy. Sometimes, letting the other person talk about their interests and stroking their ego was a valid conversational tactic. The four of them drank coffee and chatted for over an hour in a lively atmosphere. Frank, mouth dry from talking, took a sip of water and then asked, by the way, Ethan, how are the preparations for your chain stores going? We're already selecting locations. 1 service center, 5 storefronts. But we're short on staff, so it's not going that fast. Ethan replied vaguely, not giving specific details on the progress. Frank raised an eyebrow, secretly surprised. Westford Electronics was developing even faster than he anticipated. Is that so? If you run into any problems, just let me know. If it's a funding issue, your old brother here could invest $100 or 200,000. Frank was hinting at his desire to buy in. Ethan naturally picked up on it, but pretended not to understand. Mr. Zane, you really are generous. It's an honor to have a friend like you. He didn't answer Frank's question directly, nor did he indicate whether he would consider investment. After chatting a bit longer, Ethan stood up to leave. Frank invited them to dinner, but Ethan found an excuse to decline politely. Leaving Southbridge Traders, Ethan dropped his smile and walked briskly to the elevator. Tank looked excited. Ethan, that Frank is a really stand-up guy. Very loyal. That's the kind of person worth being friends with. Ethan glanced back to ensure no one was around, then lowered his voice. You think he's a good guy? Yeah, mister. Zane seems pretty decent. Tank paused, then nodded. Tank, let me teach you something. Business is business. In the marketplace, there are only interests, no feelings. You think he's being loyal, wanted to stand up for us. If I hadn't said I could take out Sterling's business and let him eat up their leftover cake, do you think he would have agreed so quickly? He's just in it for the profit. There's no loyalty involved, Ethan said calmly. Tank felt like he'd been struck by lightning. Suddenly, everything became clear. So that's how it is. I get it now, Ethan. Tank scratched his head, ashamed of his naive comment earlier. Ethan smiled. As long as you understand. Come on, let's head back. The elevator doors opened, and the two stepped inside. Frank, what kind of performance does Ethan want you to put on? Lana Cole asked as she tidied up the coffee table in the lounge. Frank smoked, narrowing his eyes. To set a contract trap for Sterling Tech. A setup. Once Sterling breaches the contract, they'll be pretty much bankrupt. This. Lana sucked in a breath of cold air. That ruthless. She hadn't expected Ethan to actually aim for Sterling's destruction. Such a vengeful, vicious method. Isn't it better to be ruthless? If Sterling is gone, our parts shipments could double. Frank chuckled softly. Lana nodded. Sterling's collapse would indeed mean one less competitor and increased profits for Southbridge Traders. Frank, do you think he can really disrupt Sterling's current business? What method will he use? Lana asked, puzzled. I can't guess either. But, given Ethan's character, the method will likely be direct and swift. We'll just have to wait and see, Frank said, blowing a smoke ring. But, I just mentioned investing in Westford Electronics. Did he not catch my drift? Frank narrowed his eyes, his expression darkening slightly. Or, did he pretend not to understand? Lana hesitated for a moment before whispering, he probably just didn't understand. Frank thought for a moment. Is that so? Then next time, invite him to dinner and bring it up again. He's a smart man. I trust he won't refuse my goodwill, right? Back at Westford, Tank asked Ethan. Ethan, are you still training them this afternoon? No need. After a week of onboarding, they're ready to start. Prepare to take them to the service center to get used to the work environment there. Oh, and make sure they take the technical manuals I wrote. They need to study them constantly. Ethan smiled. Okay, I'll do that right now. Tank nodded and was about to leave when Ethan stopped him. Wait, don't rush. What's up, Ethan? Something else. Tomorrow, go rent the storefronts for the 5 shops we decided on. Hand the design plans to the renovation company to start work. Also, open one right next to Sal Higgins' shop. Right across from him. I want him to experience firsthand that wherever Westford Electronics is, he won't have any business. Ethan sneered. The real counterattack starts now. You got it, Ethan. I'm on it. Tank responded excitedly, rubbing his hands together. Go on then. I need you keeping an eye on the business. Ethan patted his shoulder. Ethan, don't worry. I'll handle everything properly. Tank grinned honestly. I'm off to work. Tank turned and left to start another busy day. Ethan smiled, returned to his private office, and turned on his computer. Next, it was time to deal a heavy blow to Sterling Tech's business. Sterling Tech was a computer parts distributor. To make the downstream dealers or stores stop buying from them and even return goods, the best and fastest way was to ruin Sterling's reputation. Once the reputation stank, the business would vanish. So, Ethan's specific method was online public opinion. This method of using internet armies or bots to manipulate opinion was tried and true. To smear a brand, you just needed to buy bots to spread negativity online. Over time, it spreads from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, and the brand's flaw becomes established fact. Even if the flaw is fake, in the eyes of users, it becomes real. This is called many mouths melt gold. Public clamor can obscure the truth. This actually involved advanced knowledge of media studies. In smearing or building a brand, guiding public opinion is crucial. The classic internet opinion war happened between joint venture cars and domestic cars. Both sides used bots and influencers to attack each other. However, the joint venture bots were fiercer, targeting the backward technology of domestic cars. This led many users to believe joint venture brands were better, even if domestic performance was actually good. Because when users searched for information online or asked netizens, those people were often bots or people influenced by bot opinion. Once they accepted a viewpoint, it was hard to change. If they thought domestic cars were bad, then they were bad, and they'd spread that view to others. Ethan had deep research into online opinion and had fought many such battles with competitors. He knew the ropes. In this barbaric era of the early internet, smearing a company was incredibly easy. Most netizens new to the web were easily led. After all, most netizens weren't seeking truth. They were seeking an outlet for emotions online. Ethan immediately began writing a post. Exposed. The dark side of the tech parts industry. My true story, buyers beware. Ethan wrote this article from the perspective of a victim cheated by Sterling Tech. In the post, Ethan adopted the persona of a victim, Forrest, making a tearful accusation against Sterling Tech's Nick Zander for passing off shoddy goods as new, using despicable means to sell defective or refurbished factory parts to individual users and dealers. After stating the facts, Ethan added fuel to the fire, describing how Sterling Tech despised individual users and discriminated against them with an ugly capitalist face. The latter part was designed to make anyone angry. Netizens easily stepped into the victim's shoes and empathized. At the end of the post, Ethan attached some ambiguous photo evidence, some real, some photoshopped, to corroborate the story. Finally, Ethan listed the stores and secondary dealers cooperating with Sterling Tech. These were available from Sterling's public materials. Believing they would feel the pressure from countless netizens, these partners would likely cut ties with Sterling. After finishing the article, Ethan smiled with satisfaction. His writing skills were decent. The emotional expression was vivid. He believed this post would cause a huge sensation, because with his auto-posting software, no thread could fail to go viral. Ethan switched his IP and account, first posting the article on the local Tech Haven forum, then using the software to mimic netizen comments and bump the thread. Half an hour later, there were already over 1,000 comments bumping the post and tens of thousands of views. It immediately became a featured post and was pinned by the moderator. At the same time, Ethan reposted the original text to the city's main forums, the provincial forums, and even major national BBS boards. He used the software to batch post comments, feigning support from netizens and other victims of Sterling Tech. Public opinion. Once you detonate the first step, countless users will continue the explosion for you. This is the trending topic theory. Once you manipulate something into trending, if the event is eye-catching enough, countless real users will add to the heat. The post began to appear widely and became a hot topic on all major boards. Now, he just had to wait for the fermentation. The next day, morning, Nick Zander and Sal Higgins were having brunch at the Morningstar Diner. Damn it, Sal. You have no idea how arrogant those two kids were. Especially that Ethan Ford. He threw the file right in my face. You don't know, I really wanted to slap him right then and there. Nick smoked, cursing bitterly. Sal poured him some tea and smiled. Don't be angry. That kid Ethan isn't far from bankruptcy. I bet people will go to his shop to cause trouble again within 2 days, selling so many defective parts. West Ford Electronics' reputation is destined to stink. Nick took a sip of tea and cursed. He deserves to go under. But Sal, do you think they'll come after us? I get the feeling that kid Ethan isn't easy to deal with. Worry etched Nick's face. After interacting with Ethan, he knew the guy was meticulous, definitely not stupid. They had secretly screwed him over this time. Would Ethan just let it go? Probably not, right? Sal waved his hand, laughing. Don't worry. What means do those two kids have? Even if they complain to the Better Business Bureau or sue in court, let them. It won't lead to anything. Nick nodded. True. Thinking it over carefully, it seemed Ethan really didn't have any means of retaliation. He felt a bit more at ease. Haha, come on, Sal, drink up. Nick raised his cup. Helping Sal this time had earned him a nice chunk of side income. He felt good about it. Cheers. Sal laughed smugly. As they drank, Nick's phone suddenly rang. Nick checked the screen. It was his boss, Mr. Pearson. Hello, boss. Nick, what the hell kind of stupid thing did you do? The company lines are blowing up. Huh? What? Boss, what happened? Nick was completely bewildered. Get your ass back here right now. The phone hung up. Nick looked blank. What was going on? Why was the boss so furious? What's wrong, Nick? Who called? Mr. Pearson. Sal asked, puzzled. Yeah, the boss told me to go back immediately. Seems like something big happened. He sounded really angry. Nick felt uneasy. He had no mood for brunch anymore and quickly got up to grab his jacket. Sal, sorry, I can't finish this meal with you. I got to rush to the company. Sal paused. Okay, take care. Call me if anything happens. Nick acknowledged and turned to leave when his phone rang again. It was his colleague, Harry. Hey, Harry, what's up? Nick, you really screwed up, man. Huh? What is it? Haven't you seen the post online? You're gonna kill the company. Damn. What post? Nick was still confused. You don't know what you did? A customer who bought bad parts exposed you online. The post is viral now. The company phones are exploding. People are calling specifically to curse you out, and the company too. You've killed us. What? Nick's head buzzed. He stood there completely stunned. What the hell is going on? At this moment, Nick Xander was completely bewildered, that single sentence echoing in his brain. No, I have to get back immediately. Nick rushed out the door and sprinted back to the company. When he arrived at Sterling Tech, the scene was chaotic. People were answering phones everywhere, many shouting curses. The whole office was as noisy as a wet market. Boss, Nick is back, someone shouted upon seeing him enter. Instantly, everyone turned to look at Nick, their eyes filled with fury. Sterling's boss, Mr. Pearson, walked quickly toward him, his chubby face so dark it looked like it would drip ink. Boss, Before Nick could finish, a slap greeted him. Smack! Mr. Pearson slapped Nick hard across the face. The blow was heavy, knocking Nick directly to the ground, blood trickling from his mouth. Nick was dizzy from the slap, and even more confused. He still didn't even know what had happened, and he'd already taken a massive hit. For a moment, the office fell silent. The employees looked at Nick with the gaze of spectators watching a train wreck. Some looked like they wanted to go up and kick him a few times themselves. Mr. Pearson squatted down, grabbed Nick by the collar, his face full of rage, and growled in a low voice, "Look at the mess you've made. I tell you to be low-key in your work, humble in your life. And what the hell have you done? Who the hell told you to be so arrogant with customers?" Nick wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, terrified. Boss, what exactly happened? Damn it, what happened? Come with me, I'll show you. Pearson dragged him up by his collar and hauled him directly into the office. Pearson dragged Nick to the desk and turned the computer monitor toward him. On the screen was a viral forum post. The comment section had nearly 100,000 replies. Read this damn post yourself. Fuck. Pearson cursed, grabbing a cigarette and lighting it. Nick looked closely. The post was titled, "Exposed. The Dark Side of the Tech Parts Industry. My True Story, Buyers Beware." The post was written by a netizen named Forrest, a computer enthusiast. The beginning detailed how he bought computer parts from a Sterling Tech sales manager named Nick Xander to build 2 PCs. But the brand new parts had various issues. Upon testing, they were all defective or refurbished. What followed was a long, tearful accusation against Sterling Tech and Nick Xander. The post included various screenshots, photos of parts, text message records, and chat logs. In the description later in the post, Nick's tone was arrogant, and Sterling Tech was painted with the ugly face of a blood-sucking capitalist. Reading the comments below, one could feel the fury of the netizens. Outrageous. Such a disgusting company must be exposed. Damn. Reading this raises my blood pressure. What the hell? This Nick Xander lackey is too despicable. Thinks no one can touch him. Complaint. I'm filing a report with the Better Business Bureau right now. Shit. No wonder the parts one bought from Sterling broke so easily. So there was shady business going on. I bought from Sterling too, broke fast. I suspected they were reselling defects and refurbs. A disgrace to the city's companies. Damn it, just go bankrupt already. Every comment was filled with rage. Their emotions had been thoroughly incited by this post. The more Nick read, the more shocked he became. Because he knew he had never said those things. Absolutely not. Boss, this post is slander. Slander. I absolutely never said those things. And I certainly never insulted a customer. Absolutely not. Boss, someone definitely wrote this maliciously. Nick hurriedly turned to explain to Pearson. Pearson grabbed his collar again and cursed. Idiot. Does it matter if the post is true or false now? Now this post is everywhere. Tech Haven, the city forums, search engines. It's all over the place. You think anyone will believe you if you post a clarification now? Moron. Besides, if they investigate and find those things, do you think the company can escape? Nick broke out in a cold sweat, his body going cold as if falling into an abyss. He knew the company did resell defective and refurbished goods. The profit margins were incredibly high. Sterling had been selling them for 2 years, usually mixed in with genuine products or sold in batches to lower-level dealers. Although issues popped up occasionally, they could usually suppress them. Most individual buyers who got bad parts would just consider themselves unlucky, as they weren't familiar with computers. Over the past 2 years, Sterling Tech had sold a lot of defective parts. If someone really dug it up, they would be in big trouble. Nick, speak. Who the hell did you offend out there? It must be someone you offended who wants to destroy you. Damn it. Now the company is dragged into it. Fuck, Mr. Pearson was an old hand in business. One look at this, and he knew something was strange. Someone was fueling the flames from behind. Given the content, the other party knew Nick, and the main target of the accusation was Nick. There had to be a grudge. If Nick hadn't offended someone, would they use such terrifying means to screw him? Offended. Someone. Nick froze, a figure subconsciously appearing in his mind. Ethan Ford. Suddenly, a secretary opened the door and shouted urgently, "Boss, bad news. The FTC and the tax authorities are here." Mr. Pearson's face instantly turned black. The news of Sterling Tech being investigated spread throughout the entire tech tower within a day. At Southbridge Traders, Lana Cole walked into the office carrying a cup of coffee. Before she even entered, she heard Frank Zane's laughter coming from inside. She pushed the door open and saw Frank on the phone, beaming with joy, looking radiant. "Ah, good, Mr. Lee. Rest assured, my parts are absolutely brand new and authentic. I don't mess with defects or refurbished goods." Right, it's all in stock. You can come pick it up anytime. I'm at your service." Frank hung up the phone, turned to see Lana, and smiled. Ethan Ford really has some skills. Lana smiled faintly and placed the coffee on the desk. "I heard Sterling Tech is in deep trouble now. Not only are they under investigation, but many partners have terminated their cooperation." Frank walked over, closed the door, then came back to hug her waist, laughing. "Your news is quite fast." "Yes, I've already received several calls. People who used to work with Sterling are actively reaching out to me now. I think we can take the initiative and snatch all of Sterling's orders." Lana wiggled in his arms, her face slightly flushed. She broke free from his hands and said, "We should indeed press the advantage, but shouldn't we thank Ethan first? I don't know where he found Sterling Tech's dirt, getting someone to post and expose online. Even more surprisingly, those posts went viral and sparked public outrage. If the post hadn't gone viral, it might not have had such an effect." Frank thought for a moment. "And mate, you're right. We do need to thank Ethan. Go buy a gift later and deliver it to Ethan for me, as a token of appreciation. You know how to handle this. I shouldn't need to say much." Lana nodded. "I understand, Frank. Does Ethan know some methods to hype up topics online?" "Hype? Doesn't look like it. I saw the post. It seemed like netizens bumping it spontaneously. I can only say the post was written too well, very evocative. But that counts as Ethan's skill too." Frank laughed. "By the way, Lana, tell the sales department later. From now on, prioritize Ethan's shipments." Lana covered her mouth and laughed. "All right, I'll go do that." Noon, at the West 4 electronics store. Ethan was guiding a repair technician on fixing a computer. I listed various common component issues in the document. "Look at this graphics card. The capacitor voltage is wrong. You need to check these 3 pins first to see if there's current. If there is, and it's normal, then check the chip. If it's not normal, then there's a problem. Resolder it, or else replace it." "Joe, you need to study the documentation more," Ethan said sternly. The young man, named Joe, lowered his head in shame. Yes, Mr. Ford. I'll definitely study harder when I go back. Keep working on it. If you can't fix it, send it to the service center. We promised the client a fix within 42 hours. There's a time limit. Don't delay." Ethan instructed. "Yes, I'll retest it." Joe nodded heavily. Ethan patted his shoulder and turned to leave, looking for Tank. "Tank, how are things going?" Ethan asked. "The storefronts are rented, waiting for the renovation crew to enter. Working in parallel, they should be done within 2 weeks," Tank replied. Ethan praised him. "All right, pretty sharp moves. Not bad." By the time the chain stores were renovated and open, he would be about ready to head off to university. The computer repair business was on the right track, so he could truly relax a bit. The subsequent store expansion and personnel recruitment/training all had a complete SOP, standard operating procedure. Everyone in the company had clearly defined roles and responsibilities. All employees could work based on the system, running like a precision machine. But systems are dead, and people are alive. Various issues and accidents happen outside the system, which test the management experience of the staff. Ethan had focused on training Tank and Henry Payne in management skills and wrote management technical documents for them to handle most emergencies. If they really couldn't decide, they would immediately ask Ethan for help. But overall, Ethan felt the company still lacked mid to high-level management personnel. If he could poach some big shots, it would definitely be a huge boost for Westford. Just as he was thinking, a crisp voice came from the door. "Mr. Ford, are you busy?" Ethan turned to look and saw Grace Miller standing at the door, wearing jeans and a white shirt, her long hair in a ponytail, looking adorable and pretentious. Grace? What are you doing here? Grace pursed her lips. You think I wanted to come? It's my mom. She specifically made me bring you lunch. She lifted the large bag in her hand, which contained lunch boxes. Ethan grinned. I knew when he loved me, huh? Grace put the bag on the table and looked around the shop, noticing that even at noon, there were 3 customers browsing computer parts. Mr. Ford, business looks pretty good, Grace remarked with surprise. Although she knew nothing about business, having customers in the store during lunch break meant business was good. And the West 4 Electronics store was different from other messy computer shops. Clean, bright, comfortable decor, and the service was particularly attentive. Miss, have some water. A girl in a uniform brought her a cup of water with a friendly smile. Thanks. Grace paused. No matter how many times she came, someone would actively offer water. Grace, how long are you interning at the firm? Ethan asked with his mouth full of rice. Maybe another 2 weeks. University starts in a month, and I want to give myself 2 weeks to rest properly. Grace sat next to him, resting her chin in her hands. So what have you learned during this time? Ethan asked curiously. Just basic architectural design theory, design processes, workflow, stuff like that. Oh, and I learned AutoCAD 2000, but that software is too complex. Gives me a headache. Grace lamented. Thinking about drawing with CAD was a nightmare, harder than drawing by hand. Mainly because she was new to the software and not familiar with it. Ethan laughed. Little dummy, you'll get it eventually. Do you want some dried tofu? Ethan picked up a piece of stir-fried tofu with his chopsticks and held it to her mouth. Grace opened her mouth cooperatively, and he accurately fed it to her. My mom's cooking is the best. Grace smacked her lips. This scene was witnessed by Tank and Britt Stone. Britt covered her mouth in shock and whispered, Tank, is that Beauty? Is she our boss's girlfriend? Is she the lady boss? She watched Ethan and Grace interacting so naturally, like an old married couple. Yes, that was the feeling. Seeing Ethan feed Grace just now, she instantly felt the chemistry. So sweet. I ship it. What lady boss? The campus queen. Of course, absolutely. My brother Ethan is talented, suave, and domineering. It's only normal he'd have the campus queen as a girlfriend, Tank whispered with a laugh. Britt looked enlightened. No wonder. I knew it. Our lady boss is really pretty. Ethan shoveled some rice and looked up. Grace, are you eating the rest of the tofu? No, I'm dieting lately. Seriously, Grace said with a straight face. Ethan grinned. Really? Dieting? You, the little glutton dieting? I don't believe it. Mr. Ford, don't look down on people, okay? This young lady has always had firm willpower when it comes to food. Grace said a bit guilty. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Is that so? Really that firm? He immediately turned to Tank and shouted. Tank, go buy me a rocket pop. Tank paused. Ethan, sure you just want one? Of course. Someone said she's dieting. She won't eat it. Ethan laughed wickedly. Grace. Stinky Ethan, trying to challenge this young lady's iron will? Ethan turned to Grace and smiled. Grace, you really don't want one? On such a hot day, eating a rocket pop would be so refreshing. Grace bit the bullet, pouting her cute little mouth. I won't eat it. Even if I starve to death, I won't eat a single bite of your rocket pop. All right, you said it. Don't try to steal mine later. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I can't be bothered to steal yours. Humph. Grace lifted her chin arrogantly. Ethan shoveled 2 more mouthfuls of rice, finished his meal, and asked, Princess Grace, you're pretty thin already. Why are you suddenly clamoring about dieting? Isn't it your fault? We ordered so much food at dim sum last time, I instantly gained a pound. 1 pound. Grace cupped her chin, looking distressed. Ethan, 1 pound? Just 1 pound? No need to be like that, right? Maybe you're just developing. Grace froze. Developing? What developing? Ethan grinned and signaled with his eyes. She looked down at her chest, her face turning red instantly. She glared at him in embarrassment and anger. Stinky Ethan, what are you saying? Does this lady need to develop? I think your skin is itching for a beating. This young lady is developing normally. Okay. What kind of look is that, Stinky Ethan? Grace said as she made a gesture to claw at him. Ethan quickly dodged, shouting, Princess Grace, please mind your ladle-like image. Grace turned her head and realized everyone else in the shop was looking at her and Ethan with strange expressions. She retracted her hand, letting it go. Stinky Ethan, you just wait. When we get back, we're going to practice some new moves. New moves? New positions? What kind of moves? Ethan paused. Grace rubbed her fists and smiled. Don't worry, they're moves you'll love. You'll definitely be satisfied. Ethan suddenly felt a chill in his heart. What kind of mischief was this girl planning? But it definitely wouldn't be anything good. Ahem, Grace, what do you want to do? Hee, Mr. Ford, you wouldn't want to be bullied by others outside, right? Princess Grace, calm down. Calm down. As they played around, Britt stared from the back with a motherly smile. The boss and the lady boss are so sweet. They are a perfect match. It's great to have a partner you can play with. No, while the lady boss is here, I need to find a chance to show my support later. At this moment, Tank ran back. He really was holding just one rocket pop. Hee, Ethan, your rocket pop. Tank handed the popsicle to Ethan. Ethan took the rocket pop and waved it in front of Grace's eyes first. Grace's jewel-like eyes moved back and forth with the popsicle, her gaze never leaving it. Wow, so cold, so refreshing. Ethan tore open the wrapper right in front of her, revealing the naked red, white, and blue popsicle. Grace looked at the rocket pop, swallowed, and felt like it was waving at her. No, I can't let Stinky Ethan look down on my willpower. If I won't eat it. Grace turned her head away. Ethan licked it and praised. So sweet. Cold and sweet. Grace, you really don't want to taste. No, I'll let you have a bite. Grace immediately turned her head back, snatched the rocket pop from Ethan's hand, and took a huge bite. Oh my God, so sweet. Ethan burst out laughing. Sure enough, Grace couldn't escape the law of true fragrance, hypocrisy. Grace wasn't satisfied with one bite. She took another huge chomp. In the blink of an eye, only half the popsicle was left. Hey, Grace, don't eat so much. That's my rocket pop. So what? Can't you let me have a lick? You told me to eat it. That's not a lick. A few more bites, and it's gone. Give it back. Nye, not giving it. Grace. Dash Omega Ethan. Grace finished the rocket pop in 2 or 3 bites and licked her lips, still wanting more. Aw, rocket pop's the goat. Ethan laughed helplessly. He knew this girl had zero resistance to rocket pops. Grace, remember, you owe me 1 rocket pop. All right, no problem. I'll pay you back when we get home. Grace waved her hand. She checked the time and suddenly froze. Oh no, looks like it's time for work. Mr. Ford, I gotta go to work. Bye. Just as Grace stood up, Britt came over to greet her. Hey, lady boss, you're leaving so soon? Here, try some mango I bought this morning. It smells great. Britt handed her a plate of cut mango cubes. Sure. Grace was just about to reach for a toothpick when she froze. What? Lady boss. Grace's cheeks flushed red as she stared at Britt, dumbfounded. Yeah, lady boss, what's wrong? Don't you like mango? Britt asked, confused. What the heck? I'm not any lady boss. I have something to do. I'm leaving first. Grace denied it repeatedly, shaking her head with a red face, and walked away quickly. Britt looked bewildered. Did I really get it wrong? But Tank said so. Okay, bye lady boss. See you later lady boss. Britt shouted after Grace. Grace didn't look back, sprinting away as if escaping. Ethan saw this and leaned back laughing, thoroughly amused. This girl's skin wasn't thick enough yet. At the door, Grace blushed and spat. What kind of eyes do they have? How could this lady be Stinky Ethan's lady boss? Just as she was muttering, she saw a beautiful woman in a professional skirt suit, with a curvy figure and mature temperament, walking toward her. This beauty was holding a beautifully wrapped gift box, smiling as she walked toward the Westford Electronics store. Grace turned her head and watched with her own eyes as the woman walked into the shop. Is this beauty looking for Stinky Ethan? Grace froze in place. Should she go take a look? But what business is it of mine? Grace pouted and walked a few steps forward, but then stopped again. Is that beauty really looking for Stinky Ethan, carrying a gift to his door and smiling? So gently, why do I care so much? Forget it. Let's go back to work. 1 minute later, Grace, using her purse as cover, sneaked back to the shop entrance and peeked through the glass window. She saw Ethan and the beauty chatting warmly, both beaming with smiles, looking very familiar with each other. The beauty even handed the gift to Ethan. She really is looking for Stinky Ethan. Grace gritted her silvery teeth. For some reason, she suddenly had the urge to put Stinky Ethan in a headlock. Yes, exactly that urge. Hey, lady boss, what are you doing? Suddenly the door opened and Britt walked out, seeing Grace looking like a thief. Cough, I was just looking around. This glass is really clean. Huh? Oh my, the sun is really fierce today. No need to see me off. I'm leaving now. Grace ran away awkwardly. Britt looked up at the sky in astonishment. A huge dark cloud was covering the sun tightly. Lady boss, what's wrong with her? On the other side, Grace was burying her head as she walked out of the alley. Right now, her whole body seemed to emit an inexplicable chill. Stinky Ethan, nice moves, getting gifts from beauties now. Capable, aren't you? Suddenly, two young men with tattoos walked toward her. Whoa. Hey, pretty lady, are you all alone? The two tattooed youths blocked Grace's path, looking her up and down with lecherous expressions. Grace stopped, looked up, and stared at them with icy eyes. This lady is in a bad mood today. Scram. Her tone was so cold it was hair-raising. Both tattooed youths felt a chill in their hearts simultaneously, feeling particularly uncomfortable under Grace's gaze. But one of them mustered up his courage. Two guys afraid of one girl. Ooh, pretty lady, don't be so hot-tempered. He moved his hand as if to drape it over Grace's shoulder. Drop dead. Grace grabbed his arm with one hand, pulled, and executed a perfect whirlwind back throw, a classic judo sui nage. Bang! The youth slammed onto the ground and passed out cold. Holy shit. The other tattooed youth. What the hell is this a woman? Looking so cute and adorable, yet so violent, too terrifying. Grace looked up at him, rubbed her fists, and walked toward him step by step. Cough. Pretty lady. Oh no. Big sister. No, beauty, calm down, please calm down. I was wrong. I won't do it again. Never again. I really won't do it again. The next moment, the voice stopped abruptly, followed by the sounds of punches, kicks, and a man's screams. 3 minutes later, under the astonished gazes of passers-by, Grace clapped her hands and left dashingly. Lying on the ground were two tattooed youths, beaten black and blue, faces swollen like pigs. A passerby muttered, Did that beauty eat gunpowder? Ms. Cole, mister. Zane is too polite, sending you all the way here with a gift. Ethan laughed. Ethan, just accept it. As the saying goes, give and take makes for a relationship. Mister. Zane insisted on sending this. You can't make me take it back, right? Then mister. Zane would scold me for not doing my job properly, Lana said with a beaming smile. All right then, I'll accept it. Refusing would make me seem pretentious. Ethan shrugged and took the gift box from the table. Lana looked around the shop, seeing customers inside, and complimented, Ethan, your business seems quite good lately. It's okay, barely enough to feed the staff, Ethan replied casually. Ethan, you really know how to joke. I can see your pickup orders. It's definitely more than that, haha. Lana covered her mouth and laughed. She didn't understand how one shop could sell so much stock. It didn't make sense. Did he have some secret sales channel? Hey, generally speaking, it's all thanks to Mr. Zane looking out for me. Ethan's answer was watertight. Lana shook her head secretly. This little slippery fellow had tight lips. It seemed getting information out of Ethan would be difficult. All right, my mission is complete. I should head back. Ethan, come by the office for coffee when you have time. Lana smiled. Sure, Ms. Cole, I'll walk you out, Ethan said. No need. You stay busy. Don't be so polite. Lana declined and took her leave. Tank watched her leave and asked, Ethan, why did Frank suddenly send her all the way here with a gift? Probably because Frank took a bite out of Sterling Tech's meat. Otherwise, he wouldn't be this attentive. Ethan opened the gift box. Inside the large box was a smaller packaging box. He knew what it was at a glance. The Cartier logo. It had to be a watch. Nice item. Frank really was thoughtful. Ethan didn't care much for buying watches, but that didn't mean he didn't need one. Watches were sometimes symbols of status. This watch was probably worth around $800 to $1,000. A nice little luxury item he could wear out. Whoa, mister. Zane really is a high roller. Tank stared at the gleaming watch with shining eyes. He's a big boss after all. He doesn't lack money. Ethan put on the watch and looked at it. Although the gold plating was a bit tacky, it was better than nothing. He'd upgrade when he made more money. In the evening, Ethan worked until 9 o'clock before returning to the neighborhood. Just as he arrived downstairs, he bumped into Grace, who was walking back while licking a rocket pop. Hey, Grace, eating a rocket pop this late at night? Ethan teased as he approached to greet her. Unexpectedly, Grace changed her usual attitude, snorted coldly, and turned her head away, ignoring Ethan. None of your business. Ethan, even a fool could hear she was annoyed. She seemed a bit angry. What was wrong with this girl? Why did she seem like she'd swallowed gunpowder? Was it that time of the month? Grace, what's wrong? So much heat while eating a popsicle. Aren't you afraid of melting it? Ethan leaned in, carefully examining her face. It was true. Grace seemed a bit angry. Hee, if it could really melt, I'd melt you first. Why are you back so late today? Have a date with a beauty outside. Grace glanced at him sideways, her tone sarcastic. Grace's peripheral vision caught the gleaming watch on his wrist, and she froze. My God, that beauty even gave Ethan a watch. This relationship. Pretty intimate, huh? You're even wearing her gift. Grace huffed. After speaking, she bit off a chunk of ice. Hearing this, realization dawned on Ethan. Was this girl jealous? He looked at Grace pouting, tilting her head, looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle with a look of displeasure, and his heart stirred. Grace looked so cute when she was jealous. Really, exactly like when they were kids. Yes, exactly the same. That little arrogance, that little angry expression, it was just too cute. Ethan sniffed the air, then leaned in to sniff her. Stinky Ethan, you pervert. You. Grace dodged with a look of disgust. Grace, why do I feel like there's a strange smell on you? Ethan said solemnly. Is there? What smell? I just showered. Grace lifted her arm to smell her clothes. There is. Grace, why do you smell like sour grapes? Sour grapes? What's sour grapes? Why don't I smell it? Grace sniffed her collar again, finding nothing. Suddenly, she saw Ethan's winking expression and realized instantly. Her cheeks flushed red as she said arrogantly, You're talking nonsense. Ooh, who's jealous? I can't be bothered to care about you. Ethan grinned. Really? You don't want to know who gave me the watch? Who? Grace asked subconsciously, but quickly covered it up. Ooh, who wants to know? I don't want to know. Saying that, she took another huge bite of half the rocket pop. Ethan laughed secretly. Grace looks so cute like this. All right, I'll tell you. It's from a business partner, Mr. Zane. That woman is his secretary. And, well, his mistress. She has nothing to do with me. Ethan explained. Mistress? You mean? The other woman type? Grace paused, surprised that such a beautiful woman was a secretary and a mistress. Yeah, you guessed it. That type. Ethan nodded. Grace felt inexplicably relieved, sensing the fire she'd been holding in all day suddenly vanish. Oh, what does that have to do with me? Mr. Ford, you don't need to explain to me. This lady doesn't care, okay? I'm sleepy. I'm going back to sleep, Grace said, finishing the popsicle in 2 bites, tossing the stick in the trash, and heading straight upstairs. Ethan chased after her. Grace, don't walk away. Tell me, were you jealous just now? Mr. Ford, who are you? You think too much. This lady doesn't have the leisure time. Hey, Princess Grace, don't be like that. Would it kill you to admit it? Mr. Ford, you're so annoying. Get lost. I'm telling you, stay away from me. Hey, clearly you were, but you won't admit it. Seriously? Grace, you're off tomorrow for the weekend, right? What do you want? Let's get breakfast together. Breakfast burrito, my treat. Deal. Get lost. What? Get lost, scram. Grace opened her door and quickly slammed it shut. Ethan laughed dumbly. Was this little girl still angry? Hard to coax. But looking at her, she didn't seem too angry anymore. Ethan shook his head and opened his door to go home. Late at night, Grace lay in bed in a daze after washing up. She turned and grabbed her pink plush pig, pinching its ear. Pink pig. Oh, pink pig. Why do you look so much like Stinky Ethan? Pig-headed. Grace kneaded the pink pig's face with both hands. Wait, why do I care so much about Stinky Ethan? Who he dates is none of my business, right? I don't even want to manage him. He can be with whoever. None of my business. Why should I be angry? Right, pink pig? Grace gave its but another kick. If yes, nod your head. If no, shake your head. The pink pig's head bobbed. Grace finally laughed. That's right. Pink pig, I didn't love you in vain. Grace hugged the pink pig and patted its head. Pink pig. All right, tomorrow is my day off. Perfect time to give Stinky Ethan some extra training. Can't let him slack on his self-defense. MMH, yes? Extra training tomorrow, Grace said, a sly look flashing in her eyes as she pinched the pig's cheek. The next morning, Ethan was still dreaming when a knock on the door woke him up. Who is it? Mr. Ford, it's me. Oh, Grace. Let me sleep a bit longer, it's too early. Ethan yawned, rolled over, and continued sleeping. Bang! The door was suddenly shoved open, slamming against the wall. This woke Ethan up completely. He thought something had exploded. Ethan sat up instantly, staring at Grace in shock. Gee, Grace W., what do you want? Grace stood in the doorway wearing a tracksuit, a single ponytail, hands on her hips. Mr. Ford, how can you sleep in on such a beautiful day? Why don't we get up and exercise, do some morning stretches or something? Grace said solemnly. And morning stretches? Ethan said weirdly. Yes. The early bird catches the worm. Why do young people sleep so much? When you're dead, you can sleep all you want, Grace declared. Ethan had a face full of black lines. Grace, are you cursing me? Cough, no, how could I? Early birds get worms. Get up, eat breakfast, and we'll go exercise. Grace raised her fist. Forget it. The early worm gets eaten by the bird. Let me sleep a bit longer. Ethan fell back onto the bed. Grace's eyes flashed with a cold light. She rubbed her fingers together, speaking ominously. Really not getting up? Bang! She punched the bedroom door. The loud thud proved her strength. Ethan jumped, scared. Gee, Grace, you aren't planning to use violence on me, are you? I'm warning you, my mom is home. If you dare touch me, I'll tell Mom. Grace. Immediately, Grace switched to a nuclear kind smile. Mr. Ford, why would I lay a hand on you? We grew up together. Relax, I won't. Ethan looked at her nuclear smile and felt goosebumps all over. He swallowed and said, all right, I give up. I'll get up in a bit, okay? Don't wait a bit. Let me help you. Grace thought he was stalling and went straight to pull the blanket. Ethan, no, I haven't put on. Before he could finish, Grace had already ripped the blanket away. The moment Grace threw the blanket aside, both of them froze. Grace stared at Ethan, blinking, her mouth slowly dropping open. Ethan was stunned for a moment too, then reacted, hurriedly yanking the blanket back. For a moment, neither spoke. The air was thick with awkwardness, awkward enough to build a villa with curled toes. Grace's cheeks flushed red instantly. Cough, couldn't tell. Pretty unexpected. Ethan. Is that a compliment? Grace, why are you still staring? You want to see it again? Grace turned her head, blushing and arrogant. Ooh, who cares? Tisk. With that, she turned and ran, fleeing the room. Ethan scratched his head. This girl. Why was she so different from other girls? If it were any other girl, she'd probably be screaming at a pitch that could shatter glass. Ethan got up, dressed, and walked out with bedhead. In the living room, besides Grace, there was no one else. Grace, where are my parents? Ethan yawned and asked. Uncle and Annie finished breakfast and went for a walk. You think everyone is like you? Lazy worm. Grace gnawed on an apple, glancing at him. But her gaze unconsciously drifted downward, and her cheeks turned even redder, matching the apple she was eating. Seeing this, Ethan immediately put on a humiliated expression, looking at her with resentful eyes. Grace, you have to take responsibility for me. Grace choked, spraying bits of apple. Stinky Ethan, what's with that face? For what? Just because I looked at you once? I have to be responsible? Are you scamming me? Not once, twice. I'll let you see everything. If you don't take responsibility, how will I find a wife? Grace rolled her eyes at him. Stinky Ethan, keep dreaming. It's not like it's the first time I've seen it. Bite me. Still wanting to take responsibility? Go brush your teeth and wash your face. If I don't see you in 3 minutes, you know the consequences. Saying that, the apple in Grace's right hand exploded with a snap. Piss. Ethan sucked in a cold breath. Holy crap. How are Grace's fingers so strong? What about the future? Ethan felt a phantom pain. Physically. Okay, no problem, I'm going. Ethan slipped into the bathroom. Sure enough, he reappeared 3 minutes later, hair combed, looking a bit cleaner. Grace, why do you want to exercise so early in the morning? Did you take the wrong medicine yesterday? Ethan sat at the table, eating plain porridge with pickles. You're the one on the wrong meds. If people don't exercise, they waste away. Look at you. Your strength isn't even equal to a girl's. Grace scorned. Ethan, get a winky face. A girl? Please, are there girls who can dent a door with a punch? Are there girls who are 5th Dan black belts? Grace, is it possible that you aren't a typical girl? Grace huffed. If I'm not typical, am I atypical? Stop babbling. Hurry up. We need to go exercise. Under her needle-like gaze, Ethan quickly shoveled down a bowl of porridge in 2 or 3 bites. Breakfast finished, Ethan put on his sneakers and went out with Grace. They walked to Spring Creek Park. This was the only park in the old neighborhood, usually full of elderly people walking dogs and the preferred spot for morning exercisers. In the gazebo by the park lake, Grace led Ethan through stretching exercises. If you don't want to get hurt exercising, stretching is essential. Mr. Ford, focus. Grace rotated her ankle, turning to look at the lazy Ethan. I want to, but it's too early. I'm still sleepy. Ethan hung his head. A gleam flashed in Grace's eyes. All right, let me teach you how to wake up. Mr. Ford, bend over. Hands touch your toes. I can't reach. Ethan tried to touch his toes, but failed. Let me help you. Grace walked to his side and pressed down on his back with both hands. Ow, ow. Pain. Grace, easy. In an instant, Ethan was wide awake. The pain woke him up. Oh my, Mr. Ford, your tendons are too stiff. Looks like you need more exercise. Grace snickered secretly. Okay, can we switch positions? Is another position okay? We can loosen up the neck first, what do you think? You've moved your neck for minutes already. You want to twist it 180 degrees. Don't try to slack off. Next, lower body stretching. Fine, you demonstrate first. I'll follow. Whatever position you do, I'll copy. Deal. Ethan squatted down, panting. Grace smiled with satisfaction. You said it. You have to match my form perfectly. Saying that, Grace walked to the park bench. The backrest was over a meter high. She lifted her left leg onto the backrest, then turned sideways and slowly pressed down. Before long, her waist and leg were pressed together, her body folded in half. Ethan. Grace, you don't expect me to do that pose, do you? The corner of Grace's mouth turned up in a triumphant smile. What, is it difficult? Not difficult at all. After speaking, Grace switched legs and folded herself again. Her flexibility was astounding. Ethan froze. Seeing her long, slender legs, he couldn't help but swallow. Such long legs. Such a flexible waist. Grace really lived up to the title of campus queen. Wait, doesn't that mean in the future I... Thinking of this, Ethan's mood instantly brightened. Indeed, one must look at problems from a different angle. Ethan shifted direction, walked to Grace's side, and looked closely. Yes, you really have to look at Grace from a different angle. Stinky Ethan, what are you looking at? Don't space out. Grace glanced at him. Cough. I'm admiring the mountain scenery. The ancient said, looked at horizontally it's a ridge, vertically a peak. The ancients didn't lie to me. Ethan grinned lewdly. Mountain scenery? Grace looked up at the artificial hill across the lake. What's so good about a fake hill? She turned back and glared at him. Stop thinking about slacking. Stretch your muscles quickly. Ethan stood beside her, mimicking her by putting his leg on the bench backrest. Just getting it up there was hard. Pressing down was out of the question. No way, I can't press down. Let me change positions. Ethan was about to give up, but Grace's leg hooked over his, pinning him down. Mr. Ford, didn't you say men can't say they can't? Don't wimp out. I'll help you, Grace said, putting a hand on his shoulder and pressing him down. Ow! 10 minutes later, Ethan lay on the bench, gasping for air. Grace, I can't anymore. Let me rest. It's barely been any time, and you're saying you can't. No way, one more time. What? Again, my legs have turned to jelly. Is it that tiring? Why don't I feel it? Only exhausted oxen know. Never mind. Besides, you were just watching me do it. You didn't do it yourself. TSK, Mr. Ford, I think you really are too weak. I'll tell Annie to make you more soup later. Add some goji berries to boost your blood. Hey, get up, Mr. Ford. Not getting up. Even if you beat me to death, I'm not getting up. Let me recover. Fine. Consider that your warm-up. Now we start the main event. That wasn't the main event. Grace, what do you want to do now? Continue your male self-defense training, of course. Grace said solemnly, poking 2 fingers toward his eyes. Ethan thought back to the defense moves learned in her room last time. It nearly disassembled his bones. No, this girl was definitely using this to prank him. Let her disassemble him again. Only a fool would do that. Cough, Grace. Practicing here isn't great. What if people gather to watch? Ethan used his trump card. Grace hated being spectated. But unexpectedly, Grace didn't care. It's fine. We're practicing judo, not doing anything else. Let them watch. Hee. Stinky Ethan, dare to play mind games with me? If I don't drill you properly today, you'll think I, Grace Miller, am easy to bully? Ethan was pulled up from the bench by her with a reluctant face, looking like an aggrieved little wife. Help! Help! My grandson fell in. Help! Suddenly, an old man screamed nearby. The scream startled both Ethan and Grace. They looked toward the sound simultaneously. Not far outside the gazebo, a white-haired old man in a pristine polo shirt was shouting desperately. In the lake, a small boy was struggling in the water. The old man stomped his feet anxiously, looking like he was about to jump in to save his grandson. Ethan was shocked. The old man was in his 70s or 80s. If he jumped in, it would likely be 2 lives lost. The situation was critical. Without time to think, Ethan leaped from the gazebo in 3 steps, diving headfirst into the lake water. Grace's face changed. Stinky Ethan! At the moment of critical danger, Ethan didn't think much. There was only one thought in his mind. Save him. When he dove headfirst into cold lake water, he immediately swam with maximum speed toward where the boy had fallen. In just a few breaths, Ethan reached the boy, grabbing his body and shouting immediately, "Kid, don't move. Don't move. I've got you." The boy looked about 5 or 6 years old. Upon hearing Ethan shout, he actually listened and didn't dare struggle blindly, instead clinging tightly to Ethan's neck. Ethan choked on a couple of mouthfuls of water, but fortunately, he managed to calm the boy down. As long as the kid didn't move, he could get him to shore. Stabilizing himself in the water, Ethan kicked his legs, bringing the boy toward the bank. Luckily, the spot wasn't far from the shore, only 3 or 4 meters. Ethan quickly brought the boy to the bank. Grace and the old man in the polo shirt pulled the boy up together. As soon as the boy was on land, he burst into loud wails. Seeing the person was safe, Grace let out a sigh of relief. and immediately pulled Ethan up as well. "Mr. Ford, are you okay?" Grace looked him up and down nervously, as if afraid he was missing a part. "Cough. I am fine. Just swallowed some water. Check the kid." Ethan coughed up water, feeling nauseous. Phew. Grace let out a long breath. Her heart had been in her throat just now. She hadn't expected Ethan to jump in to save someone without a second thought or hesitation. Stinky Ethan was really handsome just now. "Young man, thank you so much. If not for you, my grandson would have lost his life. Thank you so much." The old man knelt down in extreme agitation, grasping Ethan's hand firmly, tears streaming down his face. Ethan was soaking wet and just wanted to go back and change clothes quickly. Otherwise, he felt terrible all over. "As long as the kid is okay. Sir, keep a closer eye on the child next time. Don't let him run toward the lake. To be safe, you should take the child back to change and then go to the hospital for a checkup. Catching a cold wouldn't be good," Ethan advised with a smile. Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Young man, what is your name? I must repay you properly later," the old man said gratefully. "My name is Ethan Ford. No need for repayment. We have things to do, so we're leaving now." Ethan helped him up, then walked away without looking back. The old man shouted urgently, "Young brother, wait. Leave me a contact. I have to thank you properly later." "No need, sir," Ethan replied without turning his head. Doing good deeds without leaving a name, seeking no reward. This was the spirit of a new generation. Holding his grandson's hand, the old man watched Ethan's receding figure with deep emotion. That young man is truly a good person. No, I still have to find him later and thank him properly. Ethan ran toward his neighborhood, dripping wet. The morning was still a bit chilly. He sneezed several times on the way, attracting sideways glances from passersby. Finally arriving home, he went straight to the bathroom without a word. He felt itchy all over. After scrubbing with body wash and shampoo several times, Ethan realized he hadn't brought any clothes. It seemed he could only ask Grace for help. He opened the door a crack and shouted outside, "Grace, can you help me get some clothes?" Sure. Where are your clothes?" Grace walked to the door and asked. "In the closet. Just find me a set and bring it here." Achoo! Ethan sneezed again after speaking, feeling a bit cold. Damn, was he catching a cold? "Okay, wait a sec. I'll get them for you right away," Grace responded, hurriedly running to his room to find a set of clothes. She walked back to the bathroom door and handed the clothes through the crack. "Here, your clothes. Get dressed quickly. Don't catch a cold." Grace's voice held a note of concern. Thanks. I'll be done washing in a sec," Ethan said. Grace said, "Oh," and went back to sit on the living room sofa, feeling a bit dazed. Right now, her mind was full of the image of Ethan jumping bravely into the lake. In that moment, she had really panicked. A panic she had never felt before, a nervousness. She was truly worried Ethan would get hurt saving someone. But thankfully, Ethan had always been a good swimmer. He learned when he was small. In the end, it went smoothly. Seeing him pull the child out of the water, she was moved by the scene. In that moment, she seemed to see a light shining from Ethan. Stinky Ethan really was a good person. Was I too fierce with him before? Thinking about how she pranked Ethan this morning, Grace felt inexplicably guilty. Considering your good performance today, this lady won't hold it against you anymore. Hey, Grace. Ethan's voice came from the bathroom again. "Mr. Ford, what is it?" "Grace, did you forget to grab something?" "Huh? What thing?" Just that thing. The triangle thing." "Be briefs? You mean your underwear?" Grace Miller stammered, her face turning crimson as the realization hit her. Okay, hold on. I'll get them." Grace darted into the bedroom and rummaged around until she found a pair of purple boxers. Ugh, seriously? Purple? That's hideous, she thought. She came out holding the fabric gingerly between two fingers, her face twisted in exaggerated disgust, and stuffed the garment through the crack in the bathroom door. Ethan Ford stared at the purple fabric wiggling through the gap. "Is the hazmat handling really necessary, Grace? I'm not toxic. Just take it. Hurry up," Grace yelled, pinching her nose with her other hand. Ethan snatched the boxers, shaking his head. This girl definitely has it out for me. After getting dressed and stepping out, Ethan found Grace in the kitchen. She was boiling something, and the air was thick with a pungent, spicy odor. "Whoa, Grace, what are you cooking? It smells intense." "Ginger tea," she replied without turning around. "You were showing signs of a cold. I'm making this to drive the chill out." Ethan felt a sudden warmth in his chest. Grace really does care about me. This is nice. I'm actually touched. He walked into the kitchen and peeked into the pot. His jaw dropped. This is ginger tea." The pot was filled with at least 5 whole roots of ginger, uncut unpeeled, just massive knobs bobbing in water that had almost boiled away. This wasn't tea. It was concentrated ginger sludge. And not only had she not sliced them, but he could also see bits of dirt still clinging to the crevices of the roots. Holy crap, is she trying to feed me the essence of the earth? Yeah, I put 5 whole pieces in. It's got to be potent. You definitely won't be sick after drinking this, Grace said confidently, stirring the dark concoction with a ladle. The liquid was a yellowish-black sludge that looked less like a remedy and more like industrial runoff. Hiss. Ethan sucked in a cold breath. If I drink that, forget the cold. I'll probably burn a hole in my stomach or get diarrhea. Cough. Grace, you're too kind, really. I'm so moved. But maybe we skip the tea? I feel great. Totally healthy. Ethan forced a smile, thumping his chest to prove his vitality. No way. You sneezed earlier. If we don't knock it out now, you'll definitely get sick. It should be ready. Come on, give it a try. Grace turned off the stove and beamed, clearly proud of her masterpiece. If it weren't for the fact that you saved me, I wouldn't have bothered brewing this for you. Try it. Ethan looked at the pot with dread. Try it, and I might die. Il est pour you abode. You have to drink it all. Grace grabbed a bowl and ladled the sludge into it. It filled the bowl to the brim. 5 whole roots, boiled down to a single bowl of liquid. Ethan looked at the murky, brownish-yellow fluid and swallowed hard. Grace, maybe not the whole thing, just a sip. Grace rolled her eyes and lectured him. Don't be a baby. You need to drink a lot to sweat out the cold. Ethan paused. Where did she even learn that logic? I don't know, it seems like a lot. Grace pouted, giving him a look of deep sorrow. What? Are you going to reject my kindness? That look was Ethan's kryptonite. He gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll drink it. With the expression of a man marching to the gallows, Ethan lifted the bowl with trembling hands and took a sip. The moment the liquid hit his tongue, a concentrated, fiery explosion of ginger assaulted his senses, shooting straight from his mouth to the top of his skull. He almost ascended to the afterlife right then and there. Well, is it good? Grace asked expectantly. It's something else, Ethan managed to say, forcing a smile while his stomach churned. Suddenly, the sound of the front door unlocking echoed through the apartment. It sounded like his parents were home. Hey, Grace, my mom and dad are back. Go get the door. Ethan saw his salvation and shouted. Oh, okay. Grace turned and ran out of the kitchen. Ethan immediately dumped the rest of the ginger sludge into the sink and rinsed the bowl. At the entrance, Frank and Mary Ford walked in, greeting Grace. Son, what's that smell? What are you cooking? Mary asked curiously, sniffing the air. Grace smiled sweetly. Aunt Mary, Ethan seemed like he was coming down with a cold, so I made him some ginger tea. Oh my, Grace, you are so thoughtful. Taking care of Ethan like that, Mary exclaimed, holding Grace's hand with a delighted smile. It's nothing, just helping out, Grace said obediently. Ethan forced a twitchy smile. If I had finished that, it wouldn't be nothing, it would be a medical emergency. Grace turned back and saw the empty bowl in Ethan's hand. Ethan, did you finish it? Yeah, drank it all. In one go. Delicious. I feel warm all over now. Look, I'm sweating. Ethan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Grace beamed, feeling accomplished. Good. If you feel sick again, just tell me. I'll make more. I've got you covered, she said confidently. Ethan, understood. Does this girl want me to suffer? Drink more? I'd like to live a few more years, thanks. Mary patted Grace's hand. Grace, stay for dinner tonight. I'll make something good. Grace linked her arm with Mary's. Okay. Thanks, Aunt Mary. The next morning, Ethan got up early to head to the office. While washing up in the bathroom, he noticed a small pimple had formed at the corner of his mouth. Damn it. Grace's ginger bomb was too potent. I'm breaking out already? Ethan sighed. Well, at least he didn't have a cold. He just had a heat flare-up instead. Whatever. I'll grab an iced tea on the way to cool down. Ethan went downstairs, intending to bike to the office, when his phone rang. It was an unknown number. Curious, he answered. Hello? Who is this? Hey, is this Mr. Ford? Hello, this is Mr. Pearson from Sterling Tech. Ethan's eyes narrowed. The CEO of Sterling Tech calling personally, and sounding so polite. He had a pretty good idea of what this was about. Since partnering with Sterling, Ethan had met Pearson a few times and exchanged pleasantries. Oh, Mr. Pearson. Sorry, I didn't recognize your voice. What can I do for you? Oh, Mr. Ford, you're joking. What can I possibly do for you? I'm calling to apologize. Actually, those 2 batches of faulty goods. That was Nick Xander acting on his own authority. I only found out after the fact. I've already severely reprimanded Nick and docked his annual bonus. And I'd like to treat you to lunch. I'll have him apologize to you in person. Rest assured, Mr. Ford, Sterling Tech will take full responsibility for all losses incurred. Listening to the spiel, Ethan knew they had guessed the truth, that the online exposure of Sterling Tech was his doing. Calling to buy lunch now? They were waving the white flag. Everything was proceeding exactly as he had predicted. Oh, is that so? Well, since you're being so sincere, Mr. Pearson, it would be rude of me to refuse. All right, I'll follow your lead, Ethan said with a cheerful tone. Huh, great. You're a straightforward man, Mr. Ford. I really appreciate you giving me face. How about noon today at the Morningstar Diner? I'll book a private room and text you the details. Pearson laughed over the phone. They exchanged a few more fake pleasantries before hanging up. Inside the CEO's office at Sterling Tech, Mr. Pearson put down his phone and let out a breath of relief, though his expression remained dark. Nick Xander didn't dare make a sound. The office was deathly silent. After 2 days of being bombarded by angry calls and internet backlash, Nick looked haggard. He hadn't slept well, his spirit was broken, and he seemed to have sprouted more gray hairs overnight. The only person he had offended in the last 2 years was Ethan Ford. Seeing the forum posts and screenshots, he knew 9 out of 10 chances it was Ethan. He hadn't expected the kid to be this vicious. Just for a small kickback from Sal Higgins, he had landed himself in this mess, and now his job was on the line. He regretted it bitterly. Under Pearson's interrogation the day before, he had confessed to offending Ethan, though he conveniently left out his collusion with Sal Higgins. If Pearson knew he had taken bribe from Sal to screw over a partner, he would be furious. Pearson had decided to call Ethan personally to smooth things over. After all, to untie the bell, you need the person who tied it. To stop the bleeding from the online posts, they needed Ethan to retract them. Pearson glared at Nick. Nick, this is all you're doing. I just invited him to lunch. If you can't fix this today, I'll fix you. Damn it. Nick trembled and nodded frantically. Yes, Mr. Pearson. I will apologize properly to Mr. Ford. Ethan arrived at the office. It was Sunday, but Wayne Tank Turner was there, busy planning the grand opening for the new store. Ethan called him into his office. Tank, come grab lunch with me at noon. Free meal. Might as well take it. Ethan grabbed 2 Parliament cigarettes and handed one to Tank. Tank took the cigarette, surprised. Where are we getting a free lunch, boss? Click. Ethan lit his cigarette and blew a smoke ring. Mr. Pearson from Sterling Tech is treating. Can't say no to that. Huh, Pearson? That old fox screwed us, and now he wants to buy us lunch. Tank was stunned. Ethan tapped the ash from his cigarette and grinned. I left clues in the forum post. Nick Xander definitely figured out it was us. Pearson wants to bury the hatchet, so he has to buy us a piecemeal. He told me on the phone that they'd cover all losses. Obviously, he wants to settle this. He's probably going to ask me to delete the post. Tank suddenly understood. Holy crap, you predicted all of this, Ethan. So we're going there to negotiate? Ethan took a drag and nodded. Exactly. Terms must be discussed. This time, we're going to fleece them good. Sterling Tech has been selling faulty parts for years. It's time they bled a little. Besides, this is pure profit. Real cash. Why would we pass that up? Tank thought about it and nodded. You're right. We can't just eat the loss. It was like 10 grand. But, Ethan, if they pay us, do we just let them off the hook? A cold light flashed in Ethan's eyes. He sneered. Let them off? Tank, the bridge is already burned. They are the enemy. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. Remember this. If you don't pull the weeds up by the roots, they'll grow back in the spring. I told you, this time, I'm going to crush Sterling Tech. Do they think throwing a little money at me makes us friends? Do I look like a saint? Tank paused, feeling a chill run down his spine. It was the first time he had heard Ethan speak so coldly. Perhaps this ruthless side was necessary for the brutal world of business. Tank suddenly felt that his best friend was a bit of a stranger, no longer just the innocent kid he grew up playing with. All right, you're right, Ethan. Tank nodded, his expression complex, but he trusted Ethan implicitly. Ethan noticed Tank had forgotten to light his cigarette, so he flicked his lighter and lit it for him. Tank, business is war. Sometimes it's this cruel. Think about it from another angle. If I let Sterling Tech survive and they recover, do you think Nick or Pearson would let us go? We exposed them online. They've lost huge business. That's a lot of money. If you were them, would you be okay with that? Who knows what dirty tricks they'd use against us later? If they pulled something similar on us, Westford Electronics would be finished. Tank froze, then nodded firmly. I get it, Ethan. Ethan stood up and patted his shoulder. We can't pin our survival on the kindness of others. The words struck Tank like a lightning bolt, illuminating the harsh reality of their situation. Starting a company wasn't playing house. It was dangerous. One wrong move could ruin everything. That sentence would stay with him for the rest of his life. You're right, boss. We can't let them off easy. Tank finally smiled. Ethan grinned. Good. Get back to work. We head out at noon. 12:30 p.m. Inside a luxury private room at the Morningstar. Mr. Pearson, Nick Zander, and two vice presidents, Eugene Grant and Calvin Trent, were already seated, waiting. Eugene checked his watch impatiently. Mr. Pearson, why haven't they arrived yet? They're 30 minutes late. Eugene, patience. Just wait, Pearson said calmly, sipping his tea. He glanced at Calvin Trent, the new executive he had hired with a high salary. Calvin had 5 years of experience in the computer hardware industry. Although he had only been with Sterling for 3 months, his ability was outstanding, and he was seasoned at the negotiation table. Calvin, I'm counting on you later. Surviving this crisis is crucial for the company, Pearson said solemnly. Calvin nodded. If he agreed to come, there's room to talk. I'll do my best, but, frankly, I still think we should drop that particular line of business. Doing it means we'll eventually get caught again. The margins are high, but so are the risks. Calvin had never approved of selling Class B, refurbished parts mixed with genuine stock. Eugene frowned. Calvin, that business makes us a lot of money. Millions a year. How can we just drop it? Besides, we're helping the manufacturers clear inventory. That's why we have such good relationships with them. If we drop it, the manufacturers will be unhappy, and other distributors will snap it up. This whole mess is Nick's fault for selling a whole batch of B stock to just Ethan Ford. That was incredibly stupid. Nick hung his head low, not daring to speak. Pearson sipped his tea, saying nothing. Calvin glanced at Pearson and understood. The boss wasn't willing to let go of the profit. Calvin shook his head inwardly. After a moment of silence, Pearson spoke up. All right, let's discuss strategy later. Right now, we fix this. We get Ethan to remove the post, issue a statement, and ride out the storm. We'll worry about the rest later. Suddenly, footsteps approached the door. Pearson stood up, a cold glint in his eyes. He whispered, "The kid is here." The door opened, and Ethan and Tank appeared. Pearson's face instantly transformed, piling on a warm, enthusiastic smile as he rushed forward. Aha, Mr. Ford. Hello. I'm so glad you could make it. Mr. Pearson, so sorry. Traffic was terrible. We're late. You didn't wait long, did you? Ethan mirrored the smile. The two shook hands vigorously, beaming like long-lost friends. Not long at all. We just got here. Come, Mr. Ford, please take the seat of honor. Pearson ushered Ethan to the head of the table, with Tank sitting beside him. After they were seated, Pearson introduced his two VPs. Then, Pearson shot a glare at Nick. Taking the cue, Nick stood up and bowed deeply to Ethan. Mr. Ford, I am truly sorry for what happened before. I formally apologize to you. I'll drink this tea as a toast to your forgiveness. Nick held up his teacup, waiting for a reaction. Everyone looked at Ethan. But Ethan acted as if he hadn't heard a word. His smile vanished, replaced by a cold, indifferent mask. He tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table. He didn't speak, and the silence in the room grew heavy and awkward. Nick stood there frozen, teacup in hand, sweat beading on his forehead. To break the tension, Pearson barked at Nick. Nick, this is all your stupid mistake. Yes, Mr. Pearson, I was wrong. Nick nodded furiously. Pearson turned to Ethan, whose face was still dark. Mr. Ford, Sterling Tech takes responsibility. As I said, we will cover all your losses. No questions asked. Ethan snorted coldly and stood up. Mr. Pearson, sure, we lost money. But what really pisses me off is the damage to West Ford Electronics' reputation. Bam! Ethan slammed his hand on the table and pointed a finger at Nick. Nick, get your ass over here. The shout was full of rage, explosive, and commanding. Tank had to fight back a laugh. If Ethan went into acting, he'd win an Oscar. Before coming, Ethan had briefed him, get angry. Be loud. Seize the moral high ground immediately. If you act calm or forgiving, they'll think you're a pushover. Since they were in the right, they had to leverage it. The room was stunned by Ethan's outburst. Eugene and Pearson exchanged shocked glances. They hadn't expected the kid to be this furious. The damage to his reputation must have been severe. Nick, trembling from the shout, walked over to Ethan, head bowed like a student facing the principal. Manager Zander, I told you before, karma is watching. You try to screw me? Do I look like a sucker to you? Ethan looked increasingly enraged, and suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped Nick across the face. Slap. It was a heavy, crisp strike. Nick's cheek turned red instantly. Aside from Tank, everyone was shocked that Ethan actually got physical. Pearson's expression darkened. You don't beat a dog in front of its master. This was disrespectful, but he kept the smile plastered on his face. Mr. Ford, please calm down. Don't hurt your hand. Tang played his part perfectly, jumping up to hold Ethan back. Ethan, chill out. Mr. Pearson is here to fix this. Let's just talk. Pearson nodded quickly. Yes, Mr. Turner is right. We are very sincere about resolving this. Let's not get too excited. The other two VPs also chimed in, trying to de-escalate. If the lunch ended in a brawl, the Forum Post would never come down. Under their persuasion, Ethan allowed himself to be seated, his expression softening slightly. Seeing the storm pass, Pearson turned to Nick. Nick, get out of here. Nick had apologized and taken a slap. Keeping him here would just annoy Ethan. Nick clutched his face, looking miserable, and scurried out of the room. Once he was gone, Pearson poured tea for Ethan and then raised his own cup. Come, Mr. Ford, have some tea. Cool off. I represent Sterling Tech in offering you our deepest apologies. Ethan's lips hooked into a faint smile. He clinked cups with him. The atmosphere lightened. Pearson ordered the food and wine to be served. Waiters brought in a feast, accompanied by bottles of high-end liquor. Calvin Trent took over the role of pouring drinks and making small talk. I haven't been at Sterling long, but I've heard Mr. Pearson mention you. You're the youngest of our partners. Truly a prodigy. To build such a business at your age. I admire you. When I was your age, I only knew how to chase girls. I didn't have half your drive. Flattery flowed freely. Pearson laughed. So, Calvin, did you catch the girl? Nah, lost the girl and the money. Calvin joked. Laughter filled the room. Ethan glanced at Calvin. The guy was smart and smooth. Calvin distributed the liquor, handing a glass to Ethan first. He sat to Ethan's right. Come, this is my first drink with Mr. Ford. Bottoms up. It's an honor to know a young talent like you. Cheers. Ethan smiled slightly. You're too kind, Mr. Trent. The honor is mine. I'm sure I'll need your guidance in the future. They clinked glasses and downed the expensive spirits. With alcohol in their systems, the group chatted and laughed, avoiding business and sticking to light topics. The atmosphere became lively. Ethan saw that Pearson wasn't rushing to talk business, so he didn't rush either. He held the upper hand. Let them bring it up. After 2 hours and 4 bottles of liquor, everyone was well-fed and buzzed. Pearson decided it was time. He stood up and handed out cigarettes, offering one to Ethan first. Calvin lit his lighter and held it for Ethan. Ethan smiled and accepted the light without hesitation. In this setting, he was the one being courted. If you have the leverage, you keep your posture high. If you act too humble, they'll walk all over you. Pearson lit his own cigarette and looked at Ethan. Mr. Ford, about Nick. I really am sorry. Sterling Tech is a responsible company. We will cover all losses. For those 2 batches, I'll compensate you double the cost. That's $30,000. How does that sound? He knew Ethan wouldn't accept just the cost price, so he doubled it to show sincerity. He expected Ethan to agree happily. Instead, Ethan just smoked, saying nothing, his expression cooling. The air in the room shifted. Everyone watched Ethan. After a long pause, Ethan tapped his ash. Mr. Pearson, I feel your sincerity. But, that number? I can't accept it. Tank chimed in, picking at a dish. We have a fake 1, compensate 3 policy with our customers. Plus we gave him new parts. Just the direct loss. It's way more than that. In reality, Ethan had handled it quickly. The actual loss was only around 10,000. But Ethan wasn't about to tell Pearson that. Theanger Wazel Theaterton Flate perceive a damage. This was a shakedown. Ethan sneered internally. Asterisk operator 10000. But Ethan wasn't about to tell Pearson that. The anger earlier was all theater to inflate the perceived damage. This was a shakedown. Ethan sneered internally. 10,000. But Ethan wasn't about to tell Pearson that. Theanger Wazel Theaterton Flate perceive a damage. This was a shakedown. Ethan sneered internally. Asterisk operator 30,000? You think you can buy me off with pocket change? Pearson narrowed his eyes. Is that so? Then, what is your number, Mr. Ford? Ethan took a drag and tapped the table. This mess didn't just cost us money. It cost us trust. That's worth far more than a few shipments. Mr. Pearson, if it were you, you wouldn't be satisfied either. Tell you what, I've recalled the batches. That's late perceive a damage. This was a shakedown. Ethan sneered internally. Asterisk operator 30,000? You think you can buy me off with pocket change? Pearson narrowed his eyes. Is that so? Then, what is your number, Mr. Ford? Ethan took a drag and tapped the table. This mess didn't just cost us money. It cost us trust. That's worth far more than a few shipments. Mr. Pearson, if it were you, you wouldn't be satisfied either. Tell you what, I've recalled the batches. That's $15,000 in goods returned to you, plus the triple compensation I paid out and other damages. It comes to $75,000. Eugene's face went pale. What? $75,000? That was 5 times the value of goods. Pearson's face darkened, but he didn't speak immediately. He was calculating. $75,000 was higher than he expected, but not impossible. The Forum Post had already cost them 90% of their distributors. The projected loss was in the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. That was the real threat. He looked at Calvin. Calvin met his gaze and nodded slightly. Pearson understood. He hated it, but he had to swallow it. He forced a smile. I didn't realize Nick caused such a disaster. I'm truly ashamed. Mr. Ford, $75,000 is high, but to show our sincerity and hope for future cooperation. I agree. Mr. Pearson. Eugene started to protest, but Pearson cut him off with a hand. Mr. Ford, I'll have finance wire the $75,000 to your account today, Pearson said, staring at Ethan. Ethan smiled. Mr. Pearson, you were decisive. I admire that. Since you're so straightforward, let's let the past be the past. Calvin raised his glass. Right. Mr. Ford speaks with wisdom. Let the past go. To our future cooperation. Cheers, Mr. Ford. Pearson joined the toast, smiling. Only Eugene looked like he had swallowed a fly, but he raised his glass too. Ethan drank, satisfied. Tank smirked internally. We nailed their bottom line. Ethan is a genius. Pearson figured it was time for the main event. Mr. Ford, I have a favor to ask, Pearson said, handing Ethan another cigarette. Ethan took it, feigning ignorance. Oh, what is it? Recently, there's been a forum post spreading rumors about Sterling Tech. It's hurting us bad. Have you heard of it? Ethan looked enlightened. Oh, that. Yeah, I heard about it. Pearson stared at him. I don't know who posted it. Do you think you have any way to get it taken down? Ways? Sure. Since you asked, Mr. Pearson, I'll go back and pull some strings. Shouldn't be a problem, Ethan said breezily. Pearson went cold inside. It was him. Ethan Ford, you got balls. Just you wait. Haha. Thank you so much, Mr. Ford. I really appreciate it. A toast to you. Pearson feigned joy. You're welcome. You were quick with the compensation, so I'll be quick with this. Ethan stood and clinked glasses. Deal done. They drank for another hour before Ethan stood to leave. Pearson walked them out to the curb and even paid for their cab. As the taxi drove away, Pearson's face instantly turned venomous. Eugene spat. Mr. Pearson, are we really paying him $75,000? That's robbery. Pearson gritted his teeth. If we don't pay the little bastard, will he take down the post? Damn it. He glared at the retreating car. Fuck you, Ford. Just wait. Back at the office, Ethan lay on the sofa, his head spinning from the alcohol. Ethan, are we really going to delete the post? Tank handed him a Parliament cigarette. Ethan took it and leaned back. Of course. We got what we wanted. It doesn't matter if it's gone now. Click. He lit the smoke. Now we wait for Frank Zane to do his part. The trap is set. We just need Sterling Tech to step in. Will that old fox really fall for it? Tank asked. Definitely. Sterling has lost most of its business. What do you think they'll do next? Ethan smirked. Look for new business, new partners, Tank replied. Exactly. And when people are desperate, they lose their reason. Especially Nick Xander. He'll be desperate to redeem himself. Tank remembered the trap Ethan had described. It was 3 steps ahead. Hey, you're a beast, Ethan. Tank gave a thumbs up. Ethan blew a smoke ring. Tank, hurry up with the news store. Especially the one next to Sal Higgins. Open it ASAP. No problem. Renovation is already underway. 3 weeks, and all 5 new locations will be open. Good. Keep an eye on it. Ethan stubbed out his cigarette and drifted off to sleep. When he woke up, the sky outside was dark. Throb. His head pounded. The office lights were off, but the street lights were on. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Grace's house number. It was already 7:00 p.m. He walked out and found Tank and Henry Payne in the main area. Henry? It's Sunday. Why aren't you resting? Ethan asked. Hey, boss. Nothing to do at home. Came into work on the cyber cafe signage. Henry smiled. Workaholic. Spend time with Hannah. Did you confirm her school? Yeah, thanks to you. She starts at Liberty Elementary next week. Henry looked grateful. Ethan had sponsored the tuition for the private school. To Henry, Ethan was a savior who pulled him and his daughter out of poverty. Good. Now you can both focus, Ethan smiled. He checked his messages. The $75,000 wire from Sterling Tech had hit the account. Your checking account ending in 6688 received a transfer of $75,000. Current balance, $145,400. Ethan grinned. Net profit, $75K. In just over a month, the company had over $100,000 in cash. Westford Electronics was booming. Online sales, repairs, and offline retail were bringing in about $60,000 a month in net profit after expenses. With the upcoming antivirus software launch and 5 new stores, the potential was massive. Ethan knew the next 5 years were the golden age of PC adoption. What are you smiling about, boss? Tank asked. Sterling's money came in. $75,000. Holy shit, it's here? Nice. Tank cheered. Let's go eat. My treat, Ethan announced. Long live the king. The three locked up and went to a nearby seafood spot for dinner. At the entrance, they saw a crowd gathering. Say yes. Say yes. Looks lively. Let's check it out. Tank, loving a spectacle, pushed into the crowd. Ethan and Henry followed. In the center, a young man in a suit was kneeling on one knee, holding a bouquet of flowers up to a girl. The girl wore a long dress, her dark hair cascading down her back. From behind, she had a great figure. A proposal. How romantic. Tank sighed wistfully, wearing a goofy grin. Will you be my girlfriend? The suit guy asked earnestly. The girl, clearly moved, took the flowers and nodded, her voice choking up. I will. The crowd cheered. The guy jumped up, hugged her, and spun her around. Tank clapped enthusiastically. Young love. Hope they stay together forever. The lighting was dim, but Ethan had sharp eyes. As the couple spun, he caught a glimpse of the girl's face. A bolt of lightning hit his brain. Holy shit. No way. That's too cliché. He rubbed his eyes. He looked again. He wasn't wrong. Tank. Did you see who that is? Couldn't see clearly. Who? Tank, who was nearsighted, asked. Ethan took a deep breath. It's your girlfriend. Sally. What? Tank looked like he'd been struck by lightning. He froze. Impossible. He pushed to the front of the crowd. He finally saw her profile. It was Sally. Tank watched them hug. His world collapsed. He stood there, stunned. He never imagined he'd see Sally accepting another guy's proposal with his own eyes. Cheating. In public. His face went pale. Confusion, pain, and rage washed over him. He had given her everything, and this was the result? Ethan walked up to him. I told you, Sally isn't the one. You want to hit him? Ethan rolled up his sleeves. Tank grabbed his arm. He shook his head, looking dazed. Ethan, no, you sure? Tank nodded numbly. Forget it. Let's go. Ethan sighed and rolled his sleeves down. Let's go. They walked away from the crowd to a quiet spot under a tree by the road. Tank crouched down, tears welling in his eyes. Ethan pulled out his parliaments and handed one over. Here. Tank took it. The three of them squatted by the curb, smoking. Tank, let's go beat his ass. You'll feel better, Henry said coldly, exhaling smoke. Henry was the best fighter among them. Tank smoked and cried, his voice trembling. Beat him for what? Not worth the trouble for you guys. Fuck. Tank shouted, tears and snot running down his face. He buried his head in his knees and sobbed, his whole body shaking. He was broken. Tank cried on the curb for over half an hour until he had nothing left. Ethan and Henry just sat with him, smoking a whole pack between them, saying nothing. Sometimes, men just need to let it out. The crowd had dispersed. The street was quiet. Ethan nudged Tank. Everyone's gone. Tank looked up. His pants were wet with tears, his eyes red. He stared at the spot where the proposal happened. Have a smoke. Then we drink, Ethan said. Tank took the cigarette and laughed bitterly. Ethan, do you think I'm a coward? Ethan lit it for him. No. Restraint is bravery. The old Tank would have thrown punches. This Tank had grown. Tank sighed. I thought Sally was the one. I planned to propose after college. Get married. Have kids. Life's a joke, huh? He looked at Henry. Henry, do I look stupid? Henry shook his head. I'm a fucking idiot, Tank muttered. Ethan patted his back. Some women aren't worth it. Tank inhaled deeply, then coughed violently. Cough. Forget it. Ethan, I want booze. Let's go. They went to the seafood place and ordered beer by the case. Tank poured it down like water. Ethan matched him. Henry drank, less to make sure they got home. By midnight, Ethan and Tank were wasted. Tank lay on the table, sobbing. I was blind. My heart went to a dog. I'm going to make it big. I'll make Sally regret this. He looked at Ethan with blurry eyes. Ethan, you gave me a chance. I'm going to work harder than ever. Ethan, equally drunk, draped an arm over him. Tank, remember this. We're brothers for life. That's enough. Ethan. Tank wiped his tears and finally smiled. They both slid under the table. Henry looked at them and sighed. Going to be a long night. Ethan woke up the next morning staring at a familiar ceiling. The sun was high. Ouch. His head throbbed. He lay there for a while before memory returned. Blackout drunk. He checked his phone. 10:30 a.m. He smelled like an ashtray soaked in beer. He grabbed fresh clothes and walked out to find Grace in the living room reading a book. You're finally awake? Thought you were in a coma. Why didn't you drink more? Grace glared at him. She had been worried sick, staying up half the night after calling Henry. Ethan scratched his head. Something happened. Had a drink with Tank. Where are my parents? Uncle Frank took Aunt Mary to the hospital for a checkup. They told me to watch you. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Grace huffed, turning her head away. Then she turned back, pouting. I bought you hangover soup. It's on the table. And buns. Eat if you're hungry. Ethan felt warm inside. Thanks, Grace. You're so thoughtful. I might faint from happiness. Ethan grabbed the bathroom door frame, feigning a swoon. Blech. Grace mom vomiting. Stop being weird. Go shower. Ethan laughed. I know you love me. I shall bathe and then taste your offering. Grace did a winky face. 10 minutes later, Ethan emerged, towel drying his hair. Hey, Grace, isn't it Monday? Why aren't you at work? I took leave. To buy you breakfast and soup? Obviously, she rolled her eyes. Ethan sat next to her on the sofa. You're studying college textbooks already? She was holding Fundamentals of Architectural Drafting. Of course. School starts in a month. Gotta be ahead, she said proudly. Nerd. Hey, Grace, your highness. I have a favor. Ethan leaned in. What? My head hurts. Can you massage it? You deserve it for drinking so much. Lay down. Ethan lay on the sofa. Grace, my neck hurts too. Can I? Use your lap. Don't push it forward. Please? My neck is killing me. Fine. Grace pulled his head onto her lap and massaged his temples. Ethan smelled her scent. Nice. Why did you guys get so drunk? She asked. Tank got cheated on. Saw his girl accept a proposal from another guy. What? No way. That's like a soap opera. Grace gasped. Yeah, poor guy. Love makes people stupid. Grace sighed sagely. You've never dated. Where do you get this wisdom? TV dramas. The Young and the Restless. You watch that. I'm gathering material. I'm going to write a martial arts novel. You? Right? Don't. Unless you put it on the forums. What kind of story? A swordswoman traveling the world. Boring. Listen, I have an idea. Write this. Main character gets dumped, humiliated. Says don't underestimate the underdog. Then he learns magic, gets powerful, slaps everyone in the face, and becomes a god. Title, Breaking the Heavens. Weird. Mine is traditional. Yours will fail. Mine is billionaire CEO style, but with magic. What's a billionaire CEO novel? Ethan sat up and pinned Grace to the sofa back, looking intense. Their faces were inches apart. Grace blushed. 4W, what are you doing? I'm showing you. This is a billionaire CEO novel. That's it? That's your novel idea? You're just being a pervert. Fuck. Ouch. Ethan was kicked off the sofa. Grace, I guarantee no billionaire CEO novel has a heroine as violent as you. If you were the lead, the CEO would turn into a scared puppy. Ethan rubbed his stomach. Grace crossed her arms, blushing. Are CEOs tough? Can they fight? Ethan gave a thumbs up. Not as well as you. Oomph. I'm going home to surf the web. Grace stood up. Leaving so soon? My head still hurts. Go by acting for dummies. Your performance sucks. Grace walked out without looking back. Ethan laughed. Maybe she knows me too well. 3 weeks passed. Ethan was busy with work and getting his driver's license. Finally, the 5 new chain stores were ready. Early morning, Ethan stood in front of the new store on Evergreen Avenue. Directly across the street was Higgins Computers. Ethan, when do we cut the ribbon? Tank asked. Ethan smoked, staring at the shop across the street. Not yet. Wait. Tank followed his gaze. Sal Higgins hadn't opened yet. Got it. A few minutes later, the Santana pulled up. Sal Higgins and Gary Holt got out. They saw the new store across the street. High-end renovation, red banners. Boss, someone opened a computer store right opposite us. Gary exclaimed. Sal's face darkened. The style. It looked like Westford Electronics. Let's go see who has the nerve. Sal marched over. 2 girls in Westford uniforms greeted them. Welcome. Looking for computers or parts? Just looking, Sal growled. Hey, Mr. Higgins. Long time no see. Ethan stepped out, smoking. It is you, Ford. Sal looked ugly. Opening right across from me. You're looking for a fight. This is my 6th store, Ethan bragged. Sal felt a pang of jealousy. How does this kid have so much money? What's the meaning of this? Sal asked. Ethan blew smoke in his face. No meaning. Just here to kill your business. You. Don't think I don't know you and Nick Xander try to screw me. You want to ruin me? I'll ruin you. Simple. Sal's expression changed. He hadn't been able to reach Nick lately. Rumor was Nick was in deep trouble. Mr. Ford, don't burn your bridges. Leave some room, Sal warned. Did you leave me room when you came after me? Too late. Tank unveiled the sign. Open for business. You got it, boss. Tank ripped the red cloth off the sign. West Ford Electronics. Applause erupted from the 20 staff members. Want to stay for the ribbon cutting, Sal? Ethan taunted. Oomph. We'll see who lasts. Sal stormed off. Tank whispered. Do we execute the plan? Ethan nodded coldly. Yes. Grand opening sale. Everything discounted. Repairs guaranteed in 48 hours. Flat labor fee of $15. Run it for a month. Buy up all the billboard space nearby. Bombard the area. Within a week, Sal won't have a single customer. Sal Higgins sat in a chair outside his empty store, staring at the bustling West Ford Electronics across the street. Boss, they have a lot of customers, Gary said enviously. It's just the first day. We have regulars, Sal lied, trying to stay calm. Gary, can you handle repairs alone yet? Sal asked. I'm learning, but it's hard to hire help. We offer $500 a month. West Ford offers $1,000 plus commission and weekends off, Gary mumbled. What? $1,000? Sal was shocked. That was way above market rate. Boss, maybe we should give raises. Gary asked tentatively. Cough. Later. Improve your skills first. 2 customers approached. Sal jumped up. Hey, Will, here for a graphics card? I'll give you a deal. The Gold Elephant 6 is usually $60. I'll do $55. I saw it across the street $4.45. I'm going there, the customer said. Wait, that's below cost. They might be fakes. Sal shouted. Their sign says fake 1, compensate 3. I'll take my chances. The customer walked away. Sal's face turned black. $45? That was basically cost price. Price war. He couldn't afford a price war. 2 days later, noon, Ethan came home with his new driver's license hidden behind his back. Mom, Grace, look. He revealed the license. Oh my God, you got it. Grace shrieked. Easy for me. Son, you have a license but no car, Mary said. Mom, I'm going to buy one today. Paid in full. What? Mary and Grace gasped. A car? That's thousands of dollars. Mary said. I'm thinking something in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, Ethan said casually. $30,000? Did you win a lottery? Mary looked faint. Business is good. I have about $250,000 in cash profit right now. Mary and Grace froze. $250,000. Mary had to sit down. My son, you're rich. Just started, Mom, but I need a good car for business. It's a symbol of strength. Okay. Just spend wisely. Mary was too shocked to argue. Grace, want to come car shopping? Yes. Take me. Grace jumped up. Let's go. Ethan and Grace rushed downstairs. Taxi to the auto mile, Ethan decided. They arrived at the strip of dealerships. What are you getting? A Taurus? An Accord? Grace pointed at the popular sedans. Too common. I want something special. Something with presence. Like what? Lincoln or Audi. Something executive. Wow, you're really going for the boss car. Grace was impressed. They walked into an import dealership that had a black Audi A6 on the floor. Salespeople glanced at them, 2 kids in casual clothes, and ignored them. Finally, a young saleswoman, Susan Quinn, approached. Hi, I'm Susan. Want to see some cars? She smiled professionally, though she didn't expect a sale. Yes, tell us about the Audi A6, Ethan said. Of course, this is a top-tier executive sedan. 170 horsepower with trim, power, everything, climate control. Very popular with business leaders. Ethan nodded. He sat in the driver's seat. Comfortable. Susan was about to continue when a middle-aged salesman, Lou, pulled her aside. Susan, why are you wasting time on them? They're kids. They can't afford that. I have real clients coming. Don't waste your breath. They're just tire kickers. But Lou, trust me. Look at them. Do they look like they have $40,000? Go do something useful.